because you think you have some sort of authority that you don't hold. You can't do that to locals.
Everyone was being sprayed and it's just chaos here. And I think it's completely unnecessary chaos because the people have already gathered here. They're already protesting. This is just a show of force, a show of control.
We've done more for climate change than you have.
Here? What have you done?
We've done.
How did you get here?
We've done more for climate change than you have.
How did you get here?
See you later.
Naz, how did you get here? How did you get here? How many in your entourage? You eat meat? I eat meat.
What's your footprint?
But I'm not the one here. I'm not the one standing here pretending that I stand for all these things.
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
But you do, mate. You do. There you go. The biggest hypocrite on YouTube.
People who wave swastikas vote for Trump, and I will vote for everything against somebody who waves a swastika.
Okay, well, that's kind of like really simplistic, but
It is simplistic.
A couple of weeks ago-
Because they're fucking Nazis.
But on the other.
Nazi?
No, but you are. But if you.
Oh, but I am.
No. That's not what I mean.
I just can't make sense of it where in a Western democracy, the media is not only not safe, they seem to have been targeted in that situation.
Yeah, I can't speak for exactly what the police were doing there and what was happening, but definitely you can see my face and you can see what happened.
Good on him. Why don't you wear another? Why don't you put another mask on? You're putting us all at risk.
Why don't you off?
Yeah, you're the one that walked to me.
Why don't you off?
How does it feel knowing that your group attacked the only here?
So you should
Where are you from? Where are you from?
off.
Where are you from? Why you wear another mask?
Fuck off.
You look like the Nazis the way you're dressed. You look exactly like the Nazis. Don't touch.
Two groups gathered here. You've got the Free Palestinian side, the pro-Palestinian side. On the other side, you've got a small group of Israelis there. They're from the community. This is most likely their neighborhood.
They claim it's not about anti-Semitism, but they keep throwing coins, throwing notes, showing us notes. This is 100% about Jews, not about Israel. And we've imported this hate, and their useful idiots on the left are enjoying and participating in their Jew hatred.
You should shave your beard
Why?
because it's like a bit messy down here. Yeah.
You don't know about different cultures, or do you just think you do?
I don't know about different cultures.
Always go around telling people of color what to do, how to dress. No, I don't. I'm asking you. Do you always go around telling people of color how to dress and how to look?
I want to hear about Daniel's breakfast.
Yeah. That's
That deflection. So the white anti-fascist being called out for his actual racism,
Did you eat
and
the
he's
yogurt?
deflecting by talking about nothing.
Did you?
Listen, stick to what you
find
do
out what
best.
Daniel had for
Your
breakfast?
racism.
Take your mask off, bro, and talk to me. Don't be a coward, bro. Don't be a coward, man. What's with the umbrella, man? I'm just trying to cover what's happening here.
Why wouldn't I be here? Why? Because you guys are so peaceful. Because you're so peaceful. You're all so peaceful. I wouldn't be here, the Jews wouldn't be here if the police weren't here to protect them. Making the point that they are a violent mob.
I'll stop now because you're asking me quite aggressive questions.
Well, I think
and
the
I
whole
didn't ask to be interviewed. This is an interview done against my approval. And if
vaccination
excused-
is also
no, if
the vaccine.
excused, If this interview
People
is
are forced vaccinated. Do you think that's okay? That's against their will, and that's WHO pushed the vaccine.
No, I have never called for forced vaccination myself.
Why is that not the WHO official position?
I am not giving the WHO official position. Gosh, you're an aggressive interviewer.
What are you talking about? You're a wedding photographer. Please, do not talk to me.
We just had a guy tell us all about the working class, and you're telling me that wedding photographers can't do this kind of work.
Wedding photographers below your white privilege.
Actually, no, you're right. I got an answer. No, I just think I'm better than you two fucking idiots.
You said, yeah, that's fine.
Nothing to do with class or race or any of these things.
You brought up my job. You brought up my job.
Anti-fascist, and then he went straight to making fun of him like the person of colour is below him, the holy white man. Shame on you, you racist bigot. How do you put up with him if he's still voting for Dan Andrews?
Well,
We have a fight over
if
it.
he
Oh, did you have a fight over it?
Oh, no.
if he gives me my pocket money and doesn't
I'm
complain,
a traditionalist, traditional man, yeah.
yes, he is, and I love him.
God bless you
He's a good
both.
cook, and I'm the provider.
he provides the money. I cook up the 5-star.
You are the sweetest couple. I'll even forgive you that you voted Daniel Andrews in.
Don't worry, I'm taking him back to the nursing home.
What are you scared of medicine for, you coward?
I'm not a coward, man.
Yeah, buddy. Woo! Say hey to your people being here.
When someone's like talking about something that directly affects you and they have no skin in the game. None, nada, zero.
How do you feel about Israel and Palestine?
I mean, I don't think the genocide in Gaza is good.
Do you have skin in the game?
That's like a little bit of a different issue, though. Like, we're talking about like the health.
No, but I'm just trying to make the point here. You have a really strong opinion about Israel. I'm applying your same argument back at you. You don't know what you're talking about. You've got no skin in the game. And
I'm okay.
okay. Funny how her logic only applies to her political foes. Imagine my shock. You're not happy about the crowd?
Hey?
You're not happy about them?
Isn't it a Nazi protest?
Where's there a Nazi?
Huh?
Where do you see a Nazi?
Well, that's just what I heard. Either way, alt-right.
Who's alt-right though?
These guys.
What makes them alt-right? Because they don't like Daniel Andrews.
Sure, I don't know. I'm not.
So what is it? You're the one sticking your finger up at him.
You're the one like harassing me over this.
You just stood here and stuck your finger up at a crowd, took a photo. So I think it's fair game. If you're willing to put all these people on your social media with a finger, calling them alt-right Nazis, I think it's pretty fair for me to come and ask you why.
That is true, yes, fair enough.
So why?
Because I just don't agree with them.
What don't you agree with?
Any of their stances.
Give me one of them. One of their
All
stands.
right, tell me what their position is.
But you're the one that's standing against them. Surely you know.
Okay, cool. I gotta go.
So you don't know?
He's asked you before to step back.
No, he's asked me to get away because he doesn't want me here. That's very different, and you're breaking my meter in half. Same thing.
Yeah, is the reason you don't have a mask on today?
Yep. We've been through this with your legal department about 5 minutes ago. You might want to ask your superiors about it.
I'll ask you.
You don't have to wear it when you're working like this.
Is that right?
Yeah, go. Call the media. Call the department again.
And your name?
Avraham Yemini.
Do you have your media pass?
Not on me, no. You don't. Mate, you want to call your superiors, you're going to go through this again.
I just need to know who you are.
Avraham Yemini, Rebel News, on my thing. Your intimidation tactics are not going to work.
I'm not trying to intimidate.
Right, yeah, you are, because you know exactly who I am, mate.
So you're working for media, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You're spraying the media department, no issues. You don't have to wear your face mask while you're doing
Yep.
this, but just make sure that if you're just talking to the guys that you do put your face mask on for it,
Yep.
okay?
I'm going in and out of it, but I don't appreciate where they tell you that they don't want me in the park, so I've got to go, because if we go by that logic, most of the people in this park don't want you in the park.
Okay, listen to this.
So do you see how, if you want to apply that logic, it's got to be even?
Are you going to let me speak?
What?
Like I said, we've accepted that you're media. Okay,
Oh, thank you. You've accepted. No, but I don't need you to, because I don't need you, because I've come here from the minute I've walked here, and you guys have been confrontational.
Let's go.
There you go. They want you to work with them when it suits them, but they can come up and confront you at any time. That is the definition of a police state. And everybody at home that's apathetic, you let this happen. Why have you been told you have to move on? Can I understand that? Because that's a bit more.
She has to move on now. She's already been given an infringement. Okay?
I've got the infringement. We're taking care of that for her, but we want to understand why she's been.
It's been explained to her. We're not going to
Can I understand? Because the lawyer would like to know. We're taking this fight on for her, and would like to know why she's been given. She lives in the area, so she's legally allowed here.
We're not going to discuss that with you. She's been given her direction. She knows.
What direction has she been given? What direction? She doesn't know. She doesn't understand. So you're abusing your power. You're kicking a woman out from her own neighbourhood park because you think you have some sort of authority that you don't hold. You can't do that to locals.
Everyone was being sprayed and it's just chaos here. And I think it's completely unnecessary chaos because the people have already gathered here. They're already protesting. This is just a show of force, a show of control.
We've done more for climate change than you have.
Yeah? What have you done?
We've done.
How did you get here?
We've done more for climate change than you have.
How did you get here?
Okay, see you later.
Naz, how did you get here? How did you get here? How many in your entourage?
You eat meat?
I eat meat.
What's your footprint?
But I'm not the one here. I'm not the one standing.
We
Shalom, shalom.
I love it. I love it. And you're not even putting it on because literally for the last 2 weeks,
now.
literally
I'm Israel High.
Every time you talk,
that's a good song. The one you put on my playlist, that was good.
I'm Israel Chai. And what did you put on my playlist? This trip is. I think we've both like everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks that I've indoctrinated you. I even did that post of you at the Western Wall with the caption "We got him," and it triggered all the right nutcases at the same time. And
I've actually got Avi onto a gospel like Christian rock. So there you go, guys. I'm doing my
part. I've actually been loving that song. It's pretty crazy.
Good song. It's a good song.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Look, I think actually since you got me watching Chosen, I've grown to love the person known as Yeshua. But let's not with this, and I'm not converting to anything if anyone's actually like whatever.
I'm working on it.
Rukshan's definitely working on it. It's between Am Yisrael Chai and it's what is it? Am Yisrael Chai or Yeshua. That is literally. I have been because in the Airbnb that we were in, especially the last one in Tel Aviv, Rukshan.
I got some funny videos.
Rukshan literally had this Yeshua song playing the whole time and it just grew on me, and I found myself, marching the streets of Israel, singing. I start randomly singing Yeshua, and Rukshan's just laughing, taking
it's so true.
Taking video.
Not even exaggerating. That's what actually happened. So
it is literally
guys,
what happened.
I might not be wearing my kippah, but I did my part.
There's another funny video that I don't think. Did you ever put it on your story? Did you ever put that? You need to put it on your story. The one that I filmed of you and you waited up. So it was a Charlie Kirk memorial, and I can't remember what it was like. It was really late, and I think I can't remember. I think we're just sorting files or whatever, and then you were like sitting there waiting. You were letting me know when Trump comes to speak before it was even announced. Like you just assumed. It was funny how you just assumed Trump was going to speak. And you waited and waited, and then I hear Trump's voice on the, speaking. So I come out, and you're asleep on the couch. I'm like, dude, I know, because I heard you were talking to me when Erica was talking. You said something to me. I think you told me Erica's talking. So you were there up until Erica, who was one speech before Trump, and then you came over.
Well, Erica was very intense, so I was paying a lot of attention to her. But I was very tired. Like we had long days in Israel. I think we'll get to talking about all of that. There were long days. And there's obviously you're still putting out content from Israel. There's a lot of things that we filmed and that people haven't seen yet. Some interviews that are coming up as well. So a lot of things happen. I mean, I think that's the most I've worked in a long time going to Israel.
Oh my
God. People were saying we're having like a romantic holiday getaway away, but guys, it was just purely just work non-stop.
That was actually one of the toughest trips I've done, and a big chunk of it was like I'd already pre-packed out the schedule, but then obviously losing our suitcase and having to like throw in shopping for everything and finding little bits and pieces for the camera equipment. A nightmare. I want to start off by thanking everybody that actually supported our trip at israeluncut.com. I appreciate everyone that's helped us make it happen. It was way harder than I had intended. You know what? I'm never going to be cheap like that on a flight again. So I tried to save the viewers money by doing this stupid, what did we do? We caught Brussels Air from London to Brussels. And I thought, an hour stopover, whatever. Like, you're turning a 4.5 hour trip into a 7 hour trip. And it was saving like $500 each, I think. Maybe even more. I think maybe $500 each. Was that return? Yeah. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
even
it's
more.
about that much, yeah.
It might have been more, a bit more. Like it might have been $700 or $800 return each saving, right? So that's like $1,500 or whatever. But then it was like, all right, we'll do the extra lugging around and whatever. But at the end, it cost us so much more because, and people go, oh, and the insurance. Yeah, I've still got to do the insurance, but the insurance is not going to pay for all the stuff that we had to reimburse ourselves with. Like there was I didn't get some crazy like work insurance. I just did not imagine. And I was so dumb. Usually I'm so smart with my travel because I travel so much. I know, just put the stuff that you actually need, have a change of clothes in your carry-on bag. But to me, like it was such a small flight. It's like flying from here to Perth. I thought, like, there's no way they're going to lose our stuff. So I just didn't, like, even my sleeping pills, which drove me mental.
Oh, my God. I mean, if it drove you mental, imagine me. And look, Brussels Airlines is the Jetstar of Europe, I believe. So, guys, avoid Brussels Airline. There's a lot of issues going on there. Like, even when we're coming back on our journey back to London before we came to Australia, how worried were we with the Apple AirTags? We're tracking it just to make sure these guys are doing.
And what
their job
happened?
because
And what happened?
The funniest.
And what happened
story
on the way back?
The funniest story, guys. We got our bags from Brussels Airlines to London, which was everything.
Which was a miracle.
A blessing. That was amazing, which is a miracle, of course. And then we got on Thai Airlines, and there's a whole other story.
I love Thai Airlines.
Traveling with Avi is like I can't explain it. It's like traveling with a. It doesn't make sense because Avi's always looking for extra leg room, but he doesn't need extra leg room. I don't know why he's looking for extra leg room because he's like a kid sitting on these couches, these seats, right? Because he's got little legs. But yeah, his main mission is extra leg room, and that he worked that out for some miracle. Thai Airways gave us extra leg room.
No, but you got to tell the story. You got to tell the story. Okay, like I travel that much that I know that. Like the extra leg room in economy, because I always fly economy. I know a lot of people here think I fly business. And no one, somebody asked if Ajax paid for our trip. No one paid for our trip except our loyal viewers. So thank you for everyone that has tripped in. It is israeluncut.com. But so I fly economy everywhere and I fly a lot. And sitting, like when you fly that much, you just learn that sitting in a tiny seat, like you walk out with pain, and it just like it's so easy if you get the emergency row, which they usually charge like $50 or $70 extra to get that, right? But only at the airport. If you do it online, it costs you like $150, $200, and sometimes you can even talk your way into it for free. But the problem is when you have connecting flights, they can never do the second leg of your flight at the airport. So we're in London. We're in London. We go early to the airport because I'm on a mission, and I'm like, nah, Rukshan, I don't care. You don't travel as much as I do. I'm telling you, I can't. We've got to get this leg room. So we get there early. We get to the counter, and yeah, sweet. We had to pay the whatever $70 for the extra leg room, and I'm like, can you, I know they already can't because I've had this problem before. I'm like, can you do something about the second leg? So the first leg is London to Bangkok, which was like, it's the longer one. Yeah, it's the longer one, but it also was like the one when we were less tired and we probably didn't even need to sleep for half of it. So I go for the second one from Bangkok to Melbourne, and they're like, no, we can't get in the system, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm on a mission. I reached out to, I'm sitting in the airport, reaching out to Thai Airways in every single way that they have. So on their website, like I'm trying to call them in Thailand. I'm WhatsApp messaging them. I'm emailing them. They're sending me messages. Let's see if I could see it. It was because I was sending the screenshots to thing. Anyways, they basically told me on WhatsApp here, Thai Air. They were like, they go, they answered my thing. Preferable seats must be completed at least 60 hours before departure. Kindly ask staff at check-in at Bangkok. And I'm like, you can't. We don't have a big layover. They go, we cannot open the seat map if it is less than 48 hours before departure. Please select your seat at the counter. And I did this like crying emoji. Up until right now, I still don't know what actually worked, because what happened was when we arrived in Bangkok, so I'd emailed, I called, I did the WhatsApp communicating, and we get to Bangkok, and the counter that they're saying that we had to go to was literally on the other side of the airport. And I'm making Rukshan run across the
We went
airport.
there, guys. We had just landed. Let me tell you this part of the story. We had just landed, pretty wrecked. I mean, we have the option of maybe sitting in a lounge or something, relaxing, but no, we have to run across the airport. It's a big airport, Bangkok International
Nice.
Airport.
It's
I
like
think
20
about
minutes to go.
It said
across.
it said 700 meters one way to get to this terminal.
No, It's, for that one, I think it was like 1.4 Ks.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say no. I saw 700 somewhere, but it felt like I think it
Yeah.
ended up being 1.5, 2 Ks. Massive walk, and Avi, you can't even keep up with him because he's going so fast, because he's so mission orientated on getting this extra leg room. That's the hardest I've seen him work. The hardest I've seen him ever work in his life is try to get extra leg room. I've never seen anything like this, and the whole trip is pretty much just the flight part of it. The flight experience is just talking about extra leg room. But yeah, you made it to the transfer desk. What happened?
And then what did they said to us? So they basically look at the computer and they're like, oh yeah, they've changed your seats and they reprinted us these new tickets. And we didn't know what was going on. We go all the way back to the gate. When we get to the gate, you got to the gate first because I was on my phone and I walked past the gate. And you're like, oh, I don't know what happened. They pulled us up and they pulled us both to the side. And there's like a massive line trying to board the plane. And we're thinking like, what's happened to our tickets? Like, we've just had such a bad experience with flying from the Brussels air and losing our bags. So we're just thinking the worst has happened. Anyways, they take us to the front counter, skip the whole line, and they're basically confused why we have the new tickets, because one of the things of communication obviously got through, and they'd already shifted us for free into the extra legroom seats, and then they like walked us onto the plane like ahead of everyone. We got like the red carpet because I drove them so crazy. And the funny thing is, we were sitting on the plane, and there were a couple like extra legroom seats free next to us, and people tried to sit in them, and this hostesses started going off at them. No, you got to pay for these seats. You've got, and I'm just looking at Rukshan going, damn. Anyways, people are telling us that we're stretching out this story. It was funny.
I know. Look, guys, if you had to be there.
Had to be there.
But it's funny. It's good fun traveling, and we had a lot of experiences like that on our travel that I wish we had filmed, and maybe we'll share those stories throughout today's podcast. Because guys, as much as we're talking about the news today as well, we do want to recap some of the stuff that we did in Israel and talk about some of the experiences that we had as well. But obviously, big news, Avi, from Israel. And
massive
from the US. Some of the biggest news we've had in a few months as it relates to this particular conflict. So we'll be getting to all that. But any ground rules for the
housekeeping? So remember the chats below us are the chats on our YouTubes. So below Rukshan is his YouTube chat. The one below me is my YouTube channel. So get involved. It literally publishes your comments straight up. And obviously, as usual, all the super chats we'll read and appreciate, and thank you in advance for all the super chats. You are the ones that make this possible. Aside from that, make sure to smash that like button, hit share, help the algorithm love it. Let's get back into our opposition podcast. Look, today I was struggling with time, literally, because of this news that's just come out. I'm like, holy crap! There's parts of some of the content that we filmed in Israel in a minute could be irrelevant if Hamas actually accepts this deal. Like, it's just and you just, as people that work so hard to go and capture this footage and these interviews and these reports, you really want to go down. So up until literally a minute before we started that thing there, I was uploading something for the team to be able to get out, hopefully later tonight, an interview that was one of the first interviews that we did that I think is time sensitive, but we've just been smashing out, trying to get out as much of the content as possible. I'm really trying to get out this content fast, over the next week so that can get back into working on Australian content. But again, I appreciate everyone that helped that mission. To me, that's one of the most important missions that I'm a part of. But for you, before we get onto the story, how was Israel? What did you take away from it? And
I think it's one of these things, right? You watch stuff on the TV, you watch stuff online, and obviously when it comes to Israel and Gaza, you hear people have all types of different opinions, and they share different videos and different interpretations of what podcasters are saying and things like this. But actually going there on the ground, and people are talking about Gaza in the comments and stuff. Yeah, we went into parts of Gaza as well, where it was able to be, where journalists were able to go, and actually being there and seeing things firsthand, and talking to people firsthand, and experiencing Israel firsthand, and the different types of people who are in Israel, because you hear all sorts of wild stories about Israel. It changes your perspective. Like anything, like being there in person and actually seeing things for yourself. It is one of these kind of humbling and privileged type experiences, because obviously there's so much history there as well, right? So we went to Old Jerusalem and to the Holy Land and seeing all those sites. Well, there you go. There's that footage. So doing all these kind of things is one experience in itself. And then you have the journalistic stuff that we were doing, covering the news stories that were pretty much the news stories, the major news stories in the world at the time. We went to the Knesset, spoke to the Speaker of the House and a few other members of the Knesset as well. So it was this massive, for me, the first time experiencing Israel was experiencing all the facets of, what's happening geopolitically, as well as this kind of footage here that you're seeing, the spiritual side of it as well for me as a Christian. And, I am, I guess, forever changed in the sense that it opens your eyes to both what it means, that part of the world, to many different people, many different faiths, all the Abrahamic faiths, of course, as well as geopolitically, the way that people portray Israel. I think until you go there and you kind of see it for yourself, I'm going to discount people's opinions. Like, if people have been there and have opinions on it and then say things about it, I get it. But if you're just kind of sitting at home and saying it's apartheid and all this kind of nonsense, and you go there and you start seeing all the, all the Arabs everywhere, all the Africans everywhere, all the, South Asians everywhere, and all the Israelis, and everyone just kind of getting along, and, it's just sometimes even more progressive than Australia, like in Tel Aviv, for instance. When you start seeing the reality of it and just how safe some parts of Israel are as well, all the BS that you see online, it's just not, you just can't take it as seriously as you can, that people make it out to be, I think that's the best way to explain my experience, because it really just does open your eyes, especially the fact that you see the way that, Arab Israelis and, Jewish Israelis get along. It is just they get along more than people in this country, in Australia, get along. When you come to for instance, right now in Australia, between the Muslim population and the Jewish population, there's a lot of friction and tension. In Israel itself, the country where there's a conflict happening across the border near Gaza, the Israeli Arabs and the Israeli Jews get along much, much better, much more peacefully, shop together. They're the cab drivers, some of them, most of the shops that we went to in Jerusalem and parts of Tel Aviv, for instance, had Muslim shopkeepers. Come on, it's not exactly as a surprise. And I think the biggest shock to me was all the African people that live there, and the way that they speak so eloquently about Israel and their experience there.
And they're not even Jewish.
They're not even Jewish. A lot of them are Christians from Nigeria and places like this. And they're just the way that they talk about Israel, the country, as their country. It's kind of what you want to see in Australia in some instances, because we've lost a lot of that cohesion and respect for our nation. But you see all these other people from different parts of the world that live in Israel that love and respect the country. And it's just eye-opening. I think it's not what's portrayed online. That's for sure. And this is not to minimize, obviously, the very horrific, ground conflict that's going on and the other issues in that area. But I'm just saying, in the country itself, people are trying to get on with life to the best of their abilities, despite what's happening around them.
Yeah, look, and for me, a lot of what you, and that's a lot of people that I've gone with for the first time. That's the first reaction, and I know that the first night when we were forced to go to Zara to shop, and you were laughing because I was just meltdown. I was wearing a jumper in the 30-degree heat because we just come from London. I didn't even pack a t-shirt. But the first thing that you noticed at that mall in Jerusalem was how packed it was. It was probably 50% Muslims, like in full hijabs, and you can see them interacting with the Jews and in playful ways. Like you just see them. It's just live. It's not even a thing. It's not a thing. It's actually more. And this was actually. So this is something that a lot of people notice the first time they go there because it's kind of shocking. I remember when I first went there, I got that shock. But another thing that I noticed in Israel, and I can't remember at what point we were talking about it with somebody, is that I actually find the Arabs in Israel, even the ones that identify as Palestinian, like there's an identity thing there for sure, an identity crisis with many. Because, they identify as the Palestinians, and I'm talking about the Muslim Israeli Arabs that identify as Palestinian. Some of them are proud to be Israeli, but some of them identify as Palestinian. But if you give them the choice, they won't. They want to live in Israel because obviously the life is just a lot better under an Israeli government as opposed to pretty much any neighboring Arab nation. But I'm gone blank. Oh my God! I'm so tired.
You say you noticed something, but on that point you're talking about, what I did notice was, in terms of the way that people are separated, I felt more so that in Israel proper, there are parts where like Arab Israelis can pretty much go everywhere in the country and mingle with people and own businesses and do things. I felt it was maybe more restrictive for Jews to go to the more Arab-dominated areas. Not that maybe it's not a major thing, but it felt more like that. It felt like more there's more freedom within Jewish areas for everyone to coexist and mingle, and there's probably maybe a bit more, you got to be a bit more careful, maybe. Like
I get what you're saying.
It's true. That I got.
It's true, but the point that I was trying to make is that actually I find the Arabs there though. Even in those Arab neighborhoods, I often find those Arabs in Israel a lot less intense and driven by hate and crazy as the ones you see here in some of the enclaves in Australia. Like that's the craziness of it. Like it's the melting pot is actually far greater in Israel, even among many that identify as ethnically Palestinian and Jews. And I know it doesn't make sense to people that haven't been there because that's a complexity of this situation. Like people who don't know, if you haven't been there and haven't seen it with your eyes and understood, there's obviously Gaza and the West Bank, and then there's all the Arabs inside of Israel proper. And then there's the different experiences of each, and then obviously the country. It's so there's obviously so I found that this time, but the thing that this trip for me that I found eye-opening was going to the protests, and because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. I've never covered really protests in Israel, so I didn't know, because I've covered protests around the world, to be honest, from Hong Kong to Britain to Australia I've been everywhere, America. Like I've done protests everywhere, and especially left-wing protests, I didn't know what to expect. Whereas like left-wing protests in the West generally are anti the state and anti the history. They won't wave an Australian flag. You go to any left-wing protest here and you will not see a single Australian flag. And we went to the left-wing protest and I had no idea what to expect. And I was shocked. I was pleasantly surprised. And we unpacked it as we were going along, because what I realized, something that I suspected beforehand, is that, like leftists in Israel still have to, they actually have to live with the consequences of their ideology. So like a lot of those people, if they lived in Australia, they probably would be crazy like the lefties here, right? But because their ideas, especially the ones that have to do with security and, multicultural, like open borders, things like that, actually affects them in a real life or death way, they're a lot more reasonable and rational about it, and they're able to engage. That was the biggest thing. You could have people from opposing views that were able to engage. That's not saying that there aren't extremists from the left and right in Israel. We met one of the crazy extremists, but even they didn't turn violent on me. And I'm not saying that they never do from the extremes, obviously. But as a general rule, when we went to those left-wing protests, like even talking to you, remember that Marxist socialist? Like,
yeah, I mean, I was going to say that. Like, I don't mind the Marxists and communists and socialists in Israel because at least they're not trying to beat you up. They'll at least talk to you about their ideas in a reasonable fashion for now.
And at one point, I was like, dude, the Marxists in Australia, they will turn around if you say Israel, they'll say, like, wipe it off the map. That's the same. I would put money on it. Anyone who identifies as a Marxist in Australia would share the opinion that Israel should be wiped off the map. And I said that to him and he goes, well, they're not my partners. It's just, he believes in that fucking ridiculous ideology. Oh, sorry, I'm swearing now. But it was interesting. And that was eye-opening to me. And I walked away from that going, I wish the rest of the world was like that, where both sides, so the left and right, are patriotic. And they were telling us, like, lefties at rallies, all holding their Israeli flags, calling themselves patriots. They just don't like the Bibi Netanyahu right-wing government.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like, people try to say it's a genocidal, dictatorial kind of government and regime, but that's when on the ground, that's not what you get. You get a sense of people actually fighting for the policies associated with the war. You have, we saw hostage families camping outside the house, the residence of Benjamin Netanyahu, for instance, in Jerusalem. So it is this dynamic mix of people who are very aware of what's happening around them in terms of the security risks to their country and their nation, but also they're not giving a green light to everything the government's doing. Like, people are actually fighting for what the government should do, and I think a lot of that does actually end up having pressure on the Netanyahu government. Even when we're looking at the decisions that were made today, I would say those protests, those other Israelis, the hostage families who are making their voices heard, all that comes into play. So it is a
100%.
thriving democracy. The kind of pariah-like view that we get, looking at it from across the world, and the stuff that's beamed into our televisions, and people like just getting up there, the Greens in the Senate in Australia getting up there and just saying they're genocidal murderers and all this kind of stuff. Actually, like, the parliament there and the discussions that they have there are actually more robust, right? It's more robust. There's people actually discussing things. There's not a one-way street as such. And, just like in America, for instance, Netanyahu's in court a lot of the time. They're trying to put him away, and there's judges there that are after him and things like this. So at the end of the day, it is not like your typical Middle Eastern dictatorship, authoritarian regime as such. This is a government that is engaged in what they say is justified war. And I know people have different opinions on that. And then you have a people that either vehemently disagree with the government. The extent, Avi, you interviewed that lady that says that she believes Hamas more than she does her government. So there is that mix of views in that country, and that changes the policies, I guess, in the country is what I'm trying to say. It's not just one-way street. There is, democracy at play in Israel.
And the fact that she could have it, and that was what I kept saying to her, is like the fact that you can have these views here in the heart of Tel Aviv on the street tells me it's a thriving democracy. And she was like a cooker from the left, like the far left, but, standing there and ironically denying that there is democracy or freedom of speech in Israel when she's literally doing that. And they're as a group there and nobody's stopping them from doing it. And there was a couple of people that tried to say, oh, democracy is on its way out, but they just hate Netanyahu, and they say that he's trying to stamp out democracy. But it's a kind of rhetoric that you get. The fact that they're saying it proves that there's a democracy, and that's what I said to him. And the fact that there was such a large protest, like the protest on the Saturday night, we found out later was one of the smaller ones, but I would guess there was at least 10,000 people there, right?
Yeah.
The bigger ones were, they say, 80 to 100,000 people. But still, it was a large, peaceful protest against the government. What we figured out by the end of it is that most of the people, like everyone we asked, were actually protesting the government prior to October 7. They just now have an extra thing that they've kind of using, although I do believe that all of them do want the hostages home. You can watch some of those videos with them. Let's read a couple of these super chats and then break down today's stories, I reckon. What do we got? Eric.
Welcome back, fellas. Good to be back, Eric. Thanks for the super chat, mate.
Cheers for the super chat. Welcome back to the super chats. That's what we got to say.
There's another Eric. Did they give you a strong ground drink when you got your seats? Welcome back.
I'll be honest. I am somebody that this is usually my trick is grab a couple of wines at least, usually 2 to 3 wines, and have, because on the packet of my sleeping pills it says do not mix with alcohol, and so like that tells me that makes it way more effective, and it knocks me out. But I didn't do it this time because sometimes that makes me a bit nauseous by the end of it, and I wasn't in the mood. So I didn't drink anything.
In economy, the drink service is not what it used to be. Now they give you the Coke in like the little cup. They used to give you the cans,
and
now
the
it's
wine
like a little
is,
cup
and the
with
wine
a bit of
is,
ice.
the wine burns as it comes down. So but thanks for the super chat, Eric. Rukshan, and I think. Oh, 1 second. Eric gave us another one. What did he say? Strong drink autocorrect net. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And we have.
Oh, you're gonna have to read this one.
What does it say? In Shun chat says Avi, Rook. Good to have you both back in Oz. Why do you think the Commonwealth countries want to recognise a Palestinian state? Also, if Kamala Harris had won, do you think she would recognise a state? It's a good question, actually.
Yeah.
So, firstly, on your first question, why did they recognise? I think we discussed this at length before we left. But in short, I think it's multiple things. It's playing to domestic politics. So, Albanese, Labour parties here in Britain and in Canada are all playing to the Islamic community, the immigrant votes from the Islamic communities. I think they've all taken hits. They just want to show them that they're for them. So they're appeasing those communities. I think that there's also an alliance against Trump from the left, and it's like a passive aggressive one, as opposed to, these guys are gutless to Trump's face. They talk him up. Every single one of those people. So Carney, Albo, and Keir Starmer have all mocked, abused, condemned everything Trump before. Now they're sucking up to him, to his face. But really, underneath, we know how they all feel about Trump. But obviously, they don't want to get slapped down with tariffs.
I think the other story is that, like, you saw New Zealand actually went against the grain, and they didn't recognize a Palestinian state. So it shows you that a lot of it is based on the domestic politics. It's not just a matter of like it being an obvious thing to do.
I think the domestic politics in New Zealand probably would have encouraged them to do it.
Maybe, but I think I was going to say the government is not as Labour-like as the rest of them.
Well, it's not. It's not Labour. It's meant to be conservative.
If it was the Ardern government or Hipkins or whatever.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. They would have recognised it. So that plays into it. The other thing is, Avi, a lot of it's symbolic. So, Sri Lanka, I'm just going to bring up a Sri Lankan point here, was amongst one of the first countries in the world in the 1980s or the 70s, I think it's the 80s, to recognise a Palestinian state. I think the second or third country in the world. So this has been symbolic for a long time. Even now today, despite what you hear in the media and what people say, a lot of this is symbolic. It won't happen unless, there's definitive borders defined, there's, a process put in place. Like, it doesn't just happen with Australia, Albanese saying, "Oh, we recognise a Palestinian." It means absolutely nothing in the real world.
Nothing.
So it's easy for them to appease people, but has it appeased people? Because you're still seeing protests in Canada. You're still
It never
seeing
will.
protests in Australia. They're still
never-
asking for more and more and more. So it's not about that. It's a bigger thing for the activists. who
Well,
are pushing it.
when you say appease people, it depends who you think they're trying to appease. Are they ever going? I don't think they believe that they're going to appease the protest class, who are really part of the Greens or the Socialists or whatever. Obviously, they're never
No.
going to make them happy. I think when we're talking about them trying to appease anyone, they're talking about the greater Islamic community, because they want them to remember next time they go to the voting booth.
We did do this.
You have two options. Remember, you have one that will recognize Palestine, and the other one that will take a hardline stance. That's the appeasement side of it. But again, I don't think it's just the appeasement. I think that there is that undertone of that alliance and the passive aggressive kind of hits to Trump, which leads into obviously today's story, which is so huge. I don't think people realize how big this is and why. But we'll unpack it in a second. Let's read the one super chat, last super chat for now, guys. We're going to rely on you to pack up.
Eric,
those-
thanks, mate. Rukshan and Avi, is there any truth in Parliament recognizing the man in the moon next?
Why not?
Is there any truth in Parliament recognizing the man in the moon next?
I'm assuming that's a joke. Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Why
I'm gonna look
not?
up.
The man in the moon. If you can recognize Palestine, you can recognize anything. Okay. So let's go on to this story. We'll just play the Fox News piece on it, or at least part of it.
The White House also releasing a map detailing the different phases of IDF withdrawal within Gaza. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy was there, and he's now here to give us the major takeaways. Peter?
And, Will, there are 20 principles of peace, they call them, that the U.S., President Trump, and the Israelis, Prime Minister Netanyahu, agree to. We don't know yet how many of those points Hamas negotiators will agree to, because the U.S. doesn't talk directly to Hamas. They rely on calls to Qatar to pass messages back and forth.
Arab and Muslim partners are fully prepared to step up and fulfill their commitments for the benefit of the people of Gaza and the entire region. They're willing to step up and do a lot. They really are. There are a lot of good people involved.
With this, President Trump is formalizing his plan from a few months ago to redevelop Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. One of the points here is the Trump economic development plan to rebuild and re-energize Gaza. Lots of possibilities, but first today, Netanyahu had to do something. He had to call Qatar and say sorry for strikes inside Qatar that unintentionally killed a Qatari serviceman. Now that that's out of the way, the burden is going to shift to the Palestinians.
I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas.
So, firstly, I'll pull up the actual 20 points and we can probably go through them. But I did find it hilarious that Trump made Bibi call Qatar and apologise. But the significance of that for people who want to understand what's actually going on there would mean that Qatar is in on this. And that's huge. So the countries that we know, and especially the Islamic countries that are in on it, supporting this, is Qatar, Saudi Arabia. These are both countries that don't have normalized relationships yet with Israel. Obviously, UAE, Jordan, Indonesia, which is like a massive one. It's the largest Muslim by population country in the world. Pakistan is supporting this. So, but I think the most important one there is Qatar, because the thing here is Qatar is always hosted and protected, and that's why Israel had targeted those leaders in Qatar and failed. And you know what? I don't even know. I'm looking at that whole strike on Qatar, and I'm wondering whether they intentionally failed and it was just all part of this. I don't know.
A lot of this, Avi, like, you know, I my suspicions are still a lot of this is just US planned.
Yeah.
And that's not going into conspiracy or anything like this. I think even those strikes on Qatar and all of that is being done with the approval of Donald J. Trump. and it really is to bring people to the table, and to put ultimatums out there that these things can happen. We can unleash Israel, for instance, in that region, and even this whole 20 points that he went through. What did Trump say at the end of it all? If they don't agree to this, well, you're free to finish the job. And this is the way that Trump does diplomacy. So this whole theatrics with calling Qatar and saying sorry, like Qatar was never going to attack Israel back.
No, but that's why it's important to understand. It allows them to save face, but it proves that Qatar's in on it, and Qatar's a part of this. This transition of power. So this is essentially the 20 points. You have Gaza will be de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. I love how this is the 20-point plan. So that's what it starts with, which is exactly, you've got to remember what were the two objectives of the war from Israel's perspective was get all the hostages back, and Israel and Hamas lays down its arms and is not involved in any way with the new governance of the Gaza Strip. 2, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. 3, if both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to an agreed-upon line to prepare for a hostage release. During this time, all military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended, and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete stage withdrawal. So what's important there is that, where was it? The war, is this where they say during this time? Okay, so that's prior to the thing. And then in that period 4, within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. And that was a massive one, because that's like, they've been drip feeding them through the, for the first, whatever it was, 200 or whatever it was. Here they're saying it's in one hit over the 72 hours. I highly doubt they're going to be doing, those shows of, those rallies that we saw, those horrific rallies that we saw, where, even to the Bibas children.
It was like, honestly, it's like, it was just weird shit. Like, people just looking at that stuff and thinking that's normal. It's like weird.
Yeah.
For a hostage swap to hold like little rallies like that with people and coffins and things like this.
It's barbaric.
It's just sick and depraved. It's not normal. It's very terroristic, and obviously these people aren't all there in terms of the Hamas side of things. So yeah, it's not normal, guys. Like if you looked at that and thought that was somehow kind of a normal thing that you were watching, it wasn't. It was sick.
5, once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after the 7th of October, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage who remains, whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans, which to me is interesting. Well, firstly, so 250 life sentence prisoners would be terrorists. So this is a big concession for Israel, because those are convicted terrorists if they have life sentences. You're talking about people, so if you think of it from Israel's point of view, somebody like Yahya Sinwar was on a life sentence. He was prisoner swapped with Gilad Shalit, who was abducted in, was it 2005? 2005, I think, off the top of my head. And he was released as part of a prisoner swap, I think, of 1,000 or over 1,000. So for Israel to concede to that is PTSD, but it is a concession they're making, which is like a concession they've been making with prisoners. That's what they've been swapping in previous hostage swaps through this war. But the 1,700 Gazans who were detained, including women and children, the wording of that's very interesting, including all women and children, which people assume straight away that means random women and children were being detained. It's when they're detained, like women and children can also be suspected of crimes. When you're saying children, technically children, you're talking about
we have child soldiers, child combatants,
teenagers. It's like the you talk about the context of Melbourne, the machete attackers in the last few days that we've seen being being pulled off the street, like in the last month. So they're killing each other. They're literally those kids that we see in all the cars being pulled out of the cars. They're kids, technically. So that's what I imagine it is. It's not going to be just random kids that they pulled in. But what I did, I guess I didn't realize Israel had remained. I guess they probably took the remains of terrorists for the ability to negotiate, I guess. 6, once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. I hope none of them should be allowed here.
I think that would apply to perhaps like the brass or the top brass or commanders and things like this. The average.
I think they're saying every Hamasnik is going to.
If they want to, but the only ones who would need to get out of the country might be the ones.
Oh no, I'm talking. So the first part of that is amnesty. So they're offering amnesty to all, which, again, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for many Israelis who want justice for the crimes that were committed, especially on October 7. But do you know what? That's part of negotiating, and that's a compromise that personally, as somebody who loves Israel and wants to see her thrive after all of this and come out and for this war to bloody end already.
I love the comments. Sorry, Avi, I just got to disrupt you, but one of the comments are like, they're all on their way to Australia. The ones that get amnesty. Well, that's actually possible.
Yeah, well, that's something that we need to fight here. The fact that they're allowed to leave, they should be allowed to leave to Egypt or Jordan or to a neighbouring Arab country. They shouldn't be coming to Australia. These are the last people that you want coming to Australia. 7, upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into Gaza Strip. At a minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the 19 January 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid, including rehabilitation of infrastructure, water, electricity, sewage, rehabilitation of hospitals and bakeries, and entry of necessary equipment to remove rubble and open roads. Just looking at that one, the whole aid thing has been a weaponized issue. We personally went to the Kerem Shalom thing on the Gaza side. We saw how much aid just sits there because it's been politicized, because organizations are not willing to take it. I think once this agreement is signed, and the UN, because I think a part of this is the UN is actually going to step in and take it over. And the reason why Israel is accepting that is because of the other points to this, in which Hamas is not going to be able to hijack it because they're no longer going to be an armed group with any sort of power. And I imagine most of the...
And for me, after seeing that, I really don't buy into all this starvation propaganda that was happening. I mean, maybe because of Hamas taking the aid or whatever like that, but in terms of aid actually being there, what we saw firsthand with our own eyes, kilometers and kilometers of aid, tons and tons of aid, Gazans who actually come to those sites and work there as well, and work on the trucks and the distribution part of it as well. So, I mean, the way that it's portrayed again by social media and the media is completely not in line with the reality. Like you said, there are issues, obviously, with aid being hijacked and taken over by Hamas, and the UN not stepping up, perhaps in that context, and not really being honest about why there's holdups. But in terms of the products that are there from the different countries who have sent those shipments of aid in, it like everything is there. Like it's just like tons and tons and tons of like every type of product that you can imagine, even luxury products. So this is not just your normal aid. This is like everything. It's like a Costco almost.
Remember, we
who's
saw
for
the
every product.
soldiers, the female soldiers were like, dude, they got Pantene. We don't even get that in the army.
As soldiers, yeah. So yeah, like there's just so much aid that's just sitting there for whatever reason, and everyone's blaming each other. At the end of the day, which other war do we have where the country who's fighting each other, one country's supplying aid, the same people that they're fighting? So there's a lot of complexities in this that people don't really want to accept in terms from the Israel side, and also accept from the fact that when you have a terrorist force involved like Hamas, they're going to start hijacking aid supplies and then selling it or whatever they're doing with that. It's going to complicate things. So this agreement, I think, just opens it all up, right? They can just get that aid flowing freely, as it was always meant to be.
8. Entry of distribution aid in the Gaza Strip will proceed without interference from the two parties through the United Nations and its agencies. That's what we're talking about, and the Red Crescent, who have been absolutely, both of them have been flops this entire war. In addition, think about it, the Red Crescent hasn't visited a single hostage in that period of time. In addition to other international institutions not associated in any manner with either party, opening the Rafah crossing in both directions will be subject to the same mechanism implemented under 19 January 2025 agreement. 9. Gaza will be governed. Gaza. This is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Gaza will be governed under a temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and
municipalities.
I'm going for the people of Gaza. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace. And I loved how Trump stopped and goes, I love the what a name, the Board of Peace. It's a beautiful name, that name. Which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump. And I love how in that one he's even like, I don't have too much to do on already. I'll take on another job.
Of course, I'm going to be heading the Board of Peace. Who else is going to be heading the Board of Peace except Donald J. Trump? They probably still wouldn't give him a Nobel Peace Prize even after heading the Board of Peace and doing this if this plan goes through. But yeah, it's Trump.
But I think it is a significant thing that he does lead it, because remember, this means this is the governance of Gaza in that transitional period, meaning he's going to be the one in charge, and everything that happens there is, if you're going up against the governance, you're going up against the President of the United States. It's no longer Bibi or the IDF. With other members and heads of state to be announced, including former Prime Minister Tony Blair. That one's ruffled a few feathers. I don't even know how I feel about that. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty weird.
It is, man. But it is what it is. This body will set the framework, and it'll be interesting to see who else is who makes up that body. If you listen to Trump's the press conference, is pretty entertaining. But it's just like everybody wants to be on this. But he made it like everybody wants to be on the board. He's taking applications at the moment. There's not everyone can get in. This body will set the framework and handle the funding for redevelopment of Gaza until such time as the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program, as outlined in various proposals, including President Trump's peace plan in 2020, and the Saudi-French proposal, and can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza. This body will call on best international standards to create modern and efficient governance that serves the people of Gaza and is conducive to attracting investment. What stands out to me in that part of it is, unlike Australia recognizing Palestine and attaching conditions that they, one, can no way enforce, and two, they've now recognized Palestine. So even if the Palestinian Authority, like they didn't expect the Palestinian Authority to complete the conditions prior to recognizing Palestine before rewarding them. Yep. They went the other way around. They go, promise me you'll do it. Okay, cool. You guys never lie. We'll just recognize you. And there's no way to take back. Well, you can, but they're not going to take back the recognition. America's doing, Trump's plan goes the other way. It goes, cool. We're happy for you guys to govern, but you need to have, and these are the conditions, like free and fair elections. You got to stop your pay to state. You got to stop paying terrorists to commit terrorism. Otherwise, it defeats the whole thing we're doing here. Those are the two big ones. If they can reform the Palestinian Authority, a lot of this, it's very positive. I'm excited for what looks like the light at the end of the tunnel here. However, there is a long road even on these sorts of things. Like my trust in the Palestinian Authority ever getting their shit together and actually allowing free and fair elections, I just don't trust them. And I feel like the de-radicalization that has to happen. So another part of it was taking out in the indoctrination of hate in the education system from a young age. Like, are they actually going to do that stuff? More than probably most people commenting, especially in your chat, who's just hating on Israel, I'm like, dude, I hope everything here happens. 10, a Trump economic development plan to rebuild and energize Gaza will be created by convening a panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracle cities in the Middle East. I imagine that's very much like the UAE and things like that. Many thoughtful investment proposals and exciting development ideas have been crafted by well-meaning international groups and will be considered to synthesize the security and governance framework to attract and facilitate these investments that will create jobs, opportunity, and hope for future in Gaza. Dude, and the UAE is a good partner. Like, I am. That sounds good. 11, a special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. This is Trump.
I mean, Trump is giving them the best of Trump. I mean, he's being very... he's going to be taking the lead on it, right? He's putting his name all over this. So with Trump, you know that he wants to do something where people look at him and be like, yes, he did that thing.
He wants this to be... I said this when he got elected. He wants this to be his legacy. He wants to be the one 100%. That figured out a way out of the Middle East. And I think this was like in his first term, he kind of wanted it. That's why he had the Abraham Accords. Now he wants this to be his defining thing, because in the history books, what's the one thing that's always going to be recorded is, like it or not, what happens on that land is, we're still talking 3,000 years ago. People are still talking from 3 Abrahamic religions. What happened on that land 3,000 years later? Trump wants to be a part of that story.
Of course, yeah. This is his legacy. So he's... And like I said, again, if you accept a deal like this, you're going to get the best of Trump. Like, he is going to want to do this because it's his legacy. So it seems like a fantastic deal for let's say that they eventually, the end goal is statehood for the Gazans. What a way to start in terms of having this as your base, considering everything that's happened beforehand, all the tragedy that's happened, that you have the opportunity to rebuild with something like this, with all of the world, including the might of America, plus the the region around them, the rich Arab states, funneling in money and being involved in rebuilding this. It's a great thing for the Gazan people, I think. And this is very different, obviously, to the last time, because last time, what did Trump say? He said, everyone out, we're going to put hotels there and do all this stuff, right? That's kind of the way that he went into this negotiation last time. And he's come around since then, and he's being more generous in terms of including everyone and really making it about the Gazans now. That tactic that he went with the first time, I think all of those things that he was doing initially was just to try to end the war. in some manner.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything's worked out now to this kind of deal where it's compromises on both sides, and Trump is really ready to put his name to it. And if you keep reading it, I think at the end we'll discuss how the other states are, jumping on board because they want to be on the Trump train as well.
It seems that way. Number 12, and this is the turnaround, which at the time we were laughing when he was saying, removing everyone from Gaza and everyone's up in arms and going crazy. But like you said, I think he was just trying to throw things in there to scare Hamas into, quitting and making peace or whatever. Number 12, no one will be forced to leave Gaza, and those who wish to leave will be free to do so and free to return. So that kind of counters the narrative of course you want, like, if you said that they could return, they're like, of course you want them to return so you could steal their land. So he's saying they can return. We will encourage people to stay and offer them the opportunity to build a better Gaza. So that's a complete turnaround. Hamas and other factions agree to not have any role in the governance of Gaza directly, indirectly, or in any form. So that would include, Islamic Jihad and those groups. All military, terror, and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapons production facilities, will be destroyed and not rebuilt. There will be a process of demilitarization of Gaza under the supervision of independent monitors, which will include placing weapons permanently beyond use through an agreed process of decommissioning and supported by an internationally funded buyback and reintegration program, all verified by the independent monitors. New Gaza will be fully committed to building a prosperous economy and a peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. It almost sounds too bloody good to be true.
It does.
But
it does.
You know what? If anyone can pull it off, it's Trump. So
You got to think big. Yeah, he's being aspirational in the desires to get this done. So.
14. A guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and the factions comply with their obligations, and that new Gaza poses no threats to its neighbors or its people. I love that line because its people are often missed in any of these conversations because it's an uncomfortable truth that the pro-Palestinian and the anti-Israel mob love to ignore. Because the people that suffer most under Hamas is actually Palestinians. 15. The United States will work with the Arab and international partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force to immediately deploy in Gaza. The ISF will train and provide support to vetted Palestinian police forces in Gaza and will consult with Jordan and Egypt, who have extensive experience in this field. The force will be the long-term internal security solution. The ISF will work with Israel and Egypt to help secure border areas along with newly trained Palestinian police force. It is critical to prevent munitions from entering Gaza and to facilitate the rapid and secure flow of goods to rebuild and revitalize Gaza. The deconfliction mechanism will be agreed upon by the parties. 16. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. That's a big one because that's what everyone said. That's
where it was heading, right? That's where it was heading.
It was heading there, but the claim by detractors of Israel was that was the entire war aim from October 7, which it wasn't. It wasn't. There are definitely people in Israel that want that. I'm not denying that. But they are in the minority. I think that this peace plan, the vast majority of Israel would get behind. Even the uncomfortable bits.
I would think so too.
As if Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. As the ISF establishes control and stability, the Israel Defense Forces will withdraw based on standards, milestones, and timeframes linked to the demilitarization that will be agreed upon between the IDF, ISF, and the guarantors and the United States with the objective of a secure Gaza that no longer poses a threat to Israel, Egypt, or its citizens. Because remember, they're also, not only to their own citizens, they're a massive threat to Egypt. Hence, they've never opened the borders and they've got a much bigger border wall along their border with Gaza. Practically, the IDF will progressively hand over the Gaza territories to it occupies to the ISF according to an agreement that they will make the transitional authority until they are withdrawn completely from Gaza, save for a security perimeter presence that will remain until Gaza is properly secure from any resurgent terror threat. In the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, the above, including the scaled-up operation, will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over. Where did I go? Handed over from the IDF to the ISF. So that's interesting. So what that number 17 is saying is essentially, even if Hamas doesn't agree to this, they're going to move. Yep. So they're going to move ahead with it while the IDF continues fighting Hamas in other areas. So they're saying areas that the IDF secure, the IDF is then going to secure and then basically move out while this other group comes in. So Israel accepting this means Israel either way is not annexing or occupying Gaza, just to be clear, because that's what this agreement is saying. 18, an interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. I think those are like classes that Donald Trump is going to be personally giving to both Palestinians and Israelis. He's going to talk. That's a funny one. We'll see how that goes. There's definitely a need for de-radicalization. 19.
Yeah, for sure.
While Gaza redevelopment advances and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as an aspiration for the Palestinian people. I love how out of all the 20 points, the Australian government, who today fell in line and got behind this peace plan and is calling for Hamas to get behind it, they honed in on number 19 because he's saving face, because it's so embarrassing that we recognize a Palestinian state that means absolutely nothing, the most symbolic bullshit that there is.
Yeah.
And it did nothing to progress this. It did nothing to progress anything. In fact, if anything, it probably emboldened Hamas and empowered them. They were supporting it. So if you listen to Albo react to it, which we could, but you probably don't need to, he literally just goes, the thing he's most happy about is that there is a pathway to statehood for Palestine, but it isn't. Yeah. It doesn't really mean anything. Like that one is like saying.
But even then, Avi, the pathway is number 19. Oh, it's like you got to do all these other things first, and then we'll think about that.
And then there's a pathway.
The pathway happens.
Yeah, and the fact that Albo honed in on that one is just him saving face. 20, the United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very detailed. It's very long. It's a 20-point plan. But what I've been amazed by, Avi, is the fact that we've had so many nations, especially the Arab nations, and Turkey, and for instance, as well. Indonesia, like you said, these countries that have been generally hostile towards Israel all throughout this conflict and even prior to conflict, they have come on board and said, yes, this is the way forward. The Palestinian Authority has said that. Qatar has said that. So it makes you wonder, the only people that could maybe stand in the way of this really now is Hamas.
Let's see if I can get a list.
And if they do, well, it's on them. And I think if it does come down to that, and Hamas has now gotten in the way of this, where everyone else is pushing for it, including Israel and the US, who have stepped up to it and said, yes, we want to do this. All the other countries have said, yes, we want to do this. And if Hamas now says no, I think what Trump said makes sense, and what Bibi said makes sense, that they'll have no choice but to take Hamas out and continue this the way that it's going. And I don't see from that point on how people could then turn around and be like, well, it's Israel that's stopping this from happening, when you have all these other countries now saying that this is what has to be done. France is saying it, Australia is saying it, the UK is saying it, and this was all conditioned on them with the whole idea about the Palestinian state. Well, they're saying, well, yes, Hamas has to accept this. There's no other choice. So it'll be really interesting to see if they just accept it exactly how it is, or if they try to prolong it. Because as long as they don't accept this, I think the bombardment of Gaza will continue, and Israel will not stop doing their operation. I think they'll have to come out and say, yes, there's not going to be this period of back and forth on this. I don't think so, from what I can tell. It's almost an ultimatum.
So far, the countries that have publicly, that I can see here quickly on a ChatGPT search, so take it with... No, but these ones are definitely thing, is... The ones that have backed it is France. So these are all the Islamic countries. France, United Kingdom, France, UK, Qatar. Like I said, that's a super important one. Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Indonesia, and the Palestinian Authority itself. And now, of course, Australia. You know what? This is also a test to the Palestinian Authority's own sway in any of this, because like they don't have any control in Gaza, and Australia. One of Australia's conditions that I was laughing at recognizing Palestine was that Australia. That the agreement that Palestinian Authority agreed that Hamas won't have any future in Gaza. I'm like, all right, well, they don't actually have any power there. So this is a massive test on a bunch of levels.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone should be rooting for this. If you're someone right now that's looking at the state of play, and you are against this deal, and you're on the streets protesting and saying, oh, you don't want peace. You want the continuation of this war. You want an outcome where some in fantasy in your mind that somehow Israel will be defeated and it will be the river to the sea in that area, and it's all the Jews will be wiped out. Like, this is the fantasy world that you're living in. That's not what's happening. Israel actually has the upper hand. The United States has the upper hand. They're taking things still slowly. Obviously, the threat's still there that they can escalate further if they don't agree to these particular negotiation that they're doing right now. But if you're still seeing this peace plan, and you're seeing all these Arab allies that have normally backed Hamas in their weird ways, now saying that Hamas has to give in to this deal, if you're seeing all of this and you're still saying that, this is not the peace that we want, I think these are the individuals which are the problem to this war continuing, Avi.
Well, I said it the whole time, and I said, watching the meltdown by the so-called pro-Palestinian, the anti-Israel mob, who have been telling us from the beginning they never wanted peace. They never wanted a ceasefire. They don't want that. They chant that, but what they really want is from the river to the sea. They don't want Israel to exist. And those people are the problem, 100%. And they've taken our cities hostage around the world. They will not be satisfied until there is no Israel, even at the expense of the Palestinian people and the Gazans especially. Let's read some of these super chats.
Yeah, we're getting some requests in the audience for us to read them. So, Faith Christian Soldier, thanks for the super chat. No to digital ID. I don't know if we're going to cover that on this episode, but it's a big...
Yeah, well, I was planning on doing it, but I think we're running a bit late tonight.
I reckon we'll do it on another episode, because that in itself is a big...
I think Thursday we'll cover it, but yeah, 100%. Crazy reaction to it, just quickly in the UK. It is unpopular, and it is, in short, it's another COVID era conspiracy turned fact. Everyone was called nuts for saying that this is an objective of theirs, and suddenly, boom. And to think for a second that in Australia they're somehow going to make it non-compulsory, like they're going to, because that's what Albo said. It's going to be what's the word he used?
Not mandatory.
Not mandatory.
Voluntary.
Good luck with that one. Not happening. But we'll go into that next episode. Baz has a big one, but my buttons. Oh, here we go. Baz, welcome back to the chat, Baz. Good to see you here, and thank you for the generous super chat, guys. Learn from Baz.
He said, "Effing YouTube did not notify me again. However, it did let me renew my membership. F YouTube. Thank you, lads. Vote 1 Rook for PM TV." Baz is one of the members that have seen, if you're a member of Avi's YouTube, he's got a membership available. You can see behind the scenes.
Yeah, we were doing a couple. We were doing a couple of those like live videos just from the back at taxis and whatever. And I'll do more of that stuff just generally out and about. So that's like the memberships on YouTube, where I'm just doing like literally. I'm not. I will also like content that gets. Isn't time sensitive. I might pre-release it there for a day or two or a week, whatever, and then release it to the public. But generally, it's a way, because what I found is, since it's a much smaller group of people that are live, like it's only a few people, like we were literally having conversations with the comments, because it's just a few people, especially at this point. So join as a member on my YouTube, and I will. Especially once I get all this, I'm just pushing to get this content out for Israel, and then I will start to pay more attention to those as well. But thank you, Baz, for your support as a member and the super chat. Catherine says, "I never trust a Pally, not just the PLA." Well, look, I think trust needs to be earned. I am hopeful. I am praying. I want an end to this, and look, there are Palestinians that I see online, few and far between, I admit, but there are some that I see that are advocating stuff I can definitely live with. Real coexistence, a bit like what we see in Israel proper itself. So I'm not going to take such a hard line. I'm going to say, I think that the Palestinian people have been hard done by their own leadership, sometimes by their own doing. Yes, they voted in Hamas in 2006 or whatever, so almost 20 years ago, and they never got an opportunity to rectify it. Now they're going to have a chance, hopefully. And I'm praying for them to make better choices.
Yeah, I hope the people deserve it, Avi, because you look at the rest of the Middle East, how it's developing.
Yep.
For everyone else in those Arab states around there. I mean, compared to like 30, 40 years ago, the extent of their development, they're living in like futuristic cities, first world, compared to countries even like Australia. You can compare places like Dubai and UAE. They're ahead of us in many aspects as well, right? So everyone deserves to live in prosperity and peace. And I think it's time for the Gazans and, people of the West Bank to live in that kind of standard as well, and to let go of some of these ancient blood feuds that are very much based on religious wars, and to actually just modernize and join the rest of civil society. Like, it's been so long of this place being used as everyone else's punching bag, like the whole region. Iran, for instance, would use this conflict, and Lebanon would use this conflict, and maybe even Israel at some instances, right? So that all of that criticism is warranted, but I think it's just time that we just move on from this like Middle East issue, if it's possible, at least in Israel, and push towards peace. And if anyone can do it, I truly believe it's President Donald J. Trump.
Me too.
He is the man for the moment, and we might see something special by the time his presidency is done. We might actually see something special in that region, and I'm excited for that, because it's want to see people live happy and in peace, and it's just amazing to think that it might be possible.
Yeah. And just notice the people online that are rooting against it, and and I'm noticing it's from those two groups: the woke left, the woke right, the anti-Israel at all costs. You know, the people that go on about America being Israel first. Oh, don't stop it. Everyone needs to stop being Israel first. Dude, you guys are Israel first. You guys are upset. You are so obsessed with Israel and your hate for Israel that you are willing to sacrifice actually innocent Palestinians. Like, you guys are willing to sacrifice innocent Palestinians. I'm here hoping and praying that they get a chance and they come out on top in a thriving Gaza that, you know, Israelis can visit and they can visit Israel. That's the way it should be. Cruel intentions. Welcome back to the super chats. Thank you so much for your generous super chat. It's up to the Gazans to force Hamas to accept this. They won't do it voluntarily. And if they don't, Israel has full backing of Trump to finish the job while Alba is trying to get the UN to be a player. Isn't that funny? Like, Alba's just such a child. This is the art of the deal. And you know what? I don't think it's up to the Gazans to force Hamas to accept this. In fact, I think it's probably Qatar that holds more, garners more power here, and they're publicly supporting it. So I just cannot see how Hamas is going to outright not accept this. They may try to get amendments to it or whatever. Time will tell. At the end of the day, I think they're going to be pretty cornered. Like, they have to accept this. This is like the best offer they're going to get. It's a reasonable offer. There are concessions, major concessions for the Israelis, but I think they're palatable and they're doable.
Yep, agree.
Catherine says the thing about the 7th of October attack was that it showed people's true colours. So few righteous amongst nations. Hamas asked the UK for reparations. Did Hamas ask it?
They were asking for reparations.
Yeah, they may.
I don't remember the exact figure, but there was a figure that was being floated. This is to do with, I think, the Balfour Declaration or whatever it was. I forgot the name, but they wanted
Balfour
reparation.
Declaration. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But it's true. It did show people's true colours, both in Gaza itself. We got to see how everybody that you could see as far as the eye on camera. Yes, you didn't get to see the people that stayed home, and you would hope and imagine that there were some that were like, no, I'm not a part of this. It looked like everyone was supporting it, but that's also a radicalized population. So I agree that, you know, every poll shows that.
Since birth. Yeah, I mean, you cannot have the society where the Hamas, they kidnap civilians or whatever from a music festival, they drive them in the back of a ute to Gaza proper, and then you have little kids spitting on the bodies. Like, this is not a normal society. So they do have to be de-radicalized. Definitely. And again, you can't just blame the people for those actions as well. Like, they don't know any better. This is the world that they've kind of grown up in, and they think it's completely normal. And you have to de-radicalize them and change their future for the better, and give them other opportunities and other hope, and make them see that there's another way, and not just the way of the terrorist, the way of the martyrs, where you blow yourself up and you get payments for your family, and this kind of thing.
72 virgins and all that.
It's nonsense, and you just got to move away from that, because that's not where the world is at anymore. These things are getting old-fashioned, and people are just kind of over it, to be completely honest.
Oh my God. I'm crashing out.
I'm crashing out. I think I'm still jet lagged, which is crazy, but I'm still jet lagged.
My whole body hurts.
Abby King 03. I don't know if she's made a different account. Was it always Abby King 03 or I don't know. But Abby, great to have you back on the Super
Maybe
Chat.
It's a clone.
Doing well. Clone of Abby. As long as the Abby clones also do Super Chats, I don't mind. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
We should create
more Abby says, that's a lot to take in. I still don't completely understand who is going to enforce this on the ground and how will they enforce it, and how long it will take. Look, there's a lot in that needs to play out. The first step is them accepting the terms in principle. How it functions on the ground, well, it sounds like there's going to be a governing body, an international governing body, which is going to be made up of Trump at the head, Tony Blair's a part of it, and then a bunch of other heads of states of...
but I think, Avi, the biggest obstacle, to answer Abby's question from my point of view, the biggest obstacle is Hamas. If they kind of give way and accept it and say, yeah, okay, cool, we'll get amnesty, we'll leave, whatever it is, then things can progress. Those things might have changes, things don't always work out perfectly. There might be different people come in. Tony Blair might be a complete disaster, most likely. They might bring Kevin Rudd in, who knows? But these things will happen, right? But I think Hamas is the biggest obstacle. After that, then, it's up to the different players there, how well everything works out. That's the biggest issue, I think, is still Hamas.
Okay. Evan Press, Avi and Rook, if you had to pick a country to move to other than Israel or Australia or New Zealand or Sri Lanka, where would you choose and why? Well, firstly, I don't know if I would pick New Zealand or Sri Lanka. I don't know why you want to put me in Sri Lanka. Easy. I would go to the States. I would move to Florida. I love Florida. I love Miami. And the reason is freedom.
Yep.
The right to bear arms. I've got 4 siblings there now, lots of nieces and nephews, and I spent some time there, and you just get to see, you don't have the pro-Palestinians rocking up to synagogues in Florida, because everybody that goes to synagogue is armed. Like, it's just not happening. That's where I would go, 100%. And you know what? It would be probably up there in my top picks if I could move to Miami. Like, I love that place. You?
Yeah, look, it's hard to say for me the US as a whole, but like you said, there's actual states in there, and the way that the country functions, the states are quite autonomous in the sense that you could live in a Florida or a Texas and be under almost like you're in a different country, as opposed to being somewhere like California. So I would say the States, but if I had the choice, actually, after going to Israel, I wouldn't mind Israel, to be completely honest. Like,
the shekels got him.
Not the shekels, but there is something special in that region, I think. I think there's something there in Israel. It's hard to put my finger on exactly what it is, but there is something definitely that's there. And I think, look, other parts of the Middle East, possibly Dubai, probably has a similar vibe under the the kind of the Arabic type system. But there's something there where Israel's very kind of modern, progressive, but also it's got all that kind of, like, you don't find that history anywhere else in the world really to that extent, especially if you're from one of the faiths. So there's something special there, and I loved Jerusalem. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah, Jerusalem is my favorite. So your favorite, you were saying, is Jerusalem. You feel like that's the most.
There's just something there. Yeah, Tel Aviv was. If you guys want to know what Tel Aviv's like, it's like a cross between Brunswick and St Kilda. Very progressive. A lot of, like, wherever you took me, that Airbnb, it was like, I thought it was like a ghetto or something, in the sense of it was just like run down. It was like, I thought I was going to get stabbed and stuff, but apparently it's like the nice part of Tel Aviv.
Oh, it's like gentrified.
It's gentrified. And once you go inside the actual building, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like, nice.
It was like a really nice, like, Airbnbs were stylish, and like it's cool.
So
like
it's very cool.
It's very hipster. Yeah, look, I'm with you. To me, Jerusalem is such a cool place. I love it. I love everything about it. Like, from going and just getting food at that in the market to, we were up there one night at like 1 a.m. and it's just bustling, and there's people
maybe it's that, maybe like we don't have that in Australia anymore. Like, it's gone from Australia. Whatever that was that I experienced in Israel, and obviously I've experienced that in.
You mean at the night time, and just
the freedom that people have at night, the way that people are relaxed, in the way that people are interacting with each other, like the way that everyone kind of feels safe, especially even the way that a lot of the females, the ladies, they feel safe, and they're kind of walking around. Like, it's not like it's not like whatever's happening in Melbourne right now is like the backwards of what we should be living like. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I agree with you.
It's crazy. Like, it's crazy that I'm saying these things, and people might be thinking I'm nuts. But if you look at the state of our country right now, in Victoria and Melbourne, and the way that it's disintegrated, and there's lots of things that we blame for it. You know, thousands and thousands of years of that history in Israel, in terms of the melting pot of people, it's kind of working after a long time in a really safe manner. It's hard to describe exactly, but I know you understand. Avi, you've seen it.
Yeah, no. Look, I personally, I can tell you now, just on an average citizen perspective, like going out in Melbourne is a lot more dangerous than hanging out, in Jerusalem at night at those bars in the market and just around that area, and it's packed, and it's like, it's full on. Like, we sat at one like shisha bar on the final night we were about to leave, and it was full on, and we were just wiped, so we left. But it was, you know what I mean? Like, it was packed, and the energy was high, and at no point did you ever feel like even a fight was going to break out, let alone like you being afraid. And when you're referring to the women, you're talking about like the girls just walking around, teenage girls to, 30s, 40s, 50s, walking around, and there's just no threat of guys going to attack them. It's just that whole shtick there doesn't exist. And that's what we're missing in Australia, because in Israel, it really is like a community. Like, people feel like you're part of the family. And that's what that Nigerian told us, the Christian Nigerian. It was like, once you join the society here, you just feel like you're part of a family, and everybody treats you as such. And it's just super safe. It's super safe. Like, and the what was that other girl in Tel Aviv? And she was saying, like, her explanation for the low crime rate, like super low crime rate. The death, the murder rate is really low, even with the terrorism. And it goes, and she puts it down to like the nationalistic feelings of community that everyone has, like going back to people being proud of their country. So pride in the country, even if you're on the left or the right, everybody takes flags to their protests. Everybody takes the Israeli flag. And that sense of community also makes it possible for you to stand at a protest with an opposing views and to engage in dialogue. That's what we're lacking here. Like, those are all symptoms of what's failing here in Australia.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're fighting for here, right? So we see these marches that we're seeing for Australia, and for instance, like that, people are fighting to bring that sense of community back that we've lost over the years. And there's different interpretations of that. And, one of the interpretations that happening in Australia is very race-based, where it's like, oh, we got to bring back a white Australia and so on, because that's the kind of way that things will be better, or it works. But in Israel, you see, like, in a way, the multiculturalism, the multi-ethnic, the melting pot, these kind of three extreme examples of the Abrahamic faiths, everyone kind of living side by side. It all kind of works in this crazy way. Of course, we're talking about it being safe. There is a threat of terrorism, which is something totally different that we don't experience in Australia. Thank God. There is that threat always hanging over the people. But in just general day-to-day life, there is a greater sense of community amongst the people that are there, and people are looking out for each other, and there is all of those aspects that we do lack in countries around the West. So that was my observation.
Baz, thank you for the super chat, says Rook is right as always. I'm going to have to fact check that. He's not always right. We should all root for peace. Get rooting now, crew. Root your hearts out, crew. I can see what Baz is doing there. Baz, you naughty, naughty boy. Thank you for the super chat. April says, this might sound naive, but hope this goes smoothly. Agree. Harry Holzer says, Avi Rook, would you consider Joe Biden pro-Israel? Since I heard he said he was a proud Zionist, but I felt like he was possibly becoming anti-Israel. Listen, I think Joe Biden in his 4 years probably didn't know what Joe Biden felt. early in these days, I would say that Joe Biden, like Israel was a bipartisan issue. Joe Biden was the establishment Democrat, so he would have been maybe not Donald Trump supporter of Israel, but he would have been a staunch supporter of Israel. Had he continued in another 4 years, another administration, I wouldn't be so confident to say that he would have supported Israel in any way, because I don't think he was actually controlling the day-to-day of anything. So it was the people behind the scenes. And those people, they could certainly be anti-Israel. What do you think?
I think in American politics, Israel continues to be bipartisan, the support for Israel. I know we're seeing little deviations right now, but historically, both sides of whether Democrats or Republicans have staunchly, had a good relationship with Israel, and they've always kind of defended whatever's happening in the Middle East in terms of on Israel's side. So, yes, I think if Biden was in charge, I think this war would have maybe been more messier. For instance, there wouldn't be enough clarity. You know what I mean?
We would not be at a point tonight discussing a 20-point peace plan that sounds like it might actually go through.
Israel may have had to annex Gaza or the West Bank and much earlier than what's
probably Lebanon at this point.
They're probably annexing the whole region, to be honest, if Biden was around, because
Greater Israel. The Greater Israel.
Confusion. Biden would have caused so much confusion around this topic that it would have been bad for everyone. That's the problem. But overall, I think America, whether Democratic or Republican, they understand the significance of their relationship with Israel in the Middle East. And what people seem to lack in understanding is that Israel actually serves a purpose for the Americans in that region. They don't have much influence in any of those other countries. Maybe they have a base in Qatar and things like this, but it's very different. America still wants to exert influence in that region, and for them, that is through their ultimate partner in the region, Israel. And people might take umbrage to that and be angry and all these kind of different views and different opinions, but they serve each other's interests at the end of the day. And we went to the parliament, we went to the Knesset in Israel, right? It's not even as impressive as the parliament in Australia, in Canberra. It's like a small, it's a decent parliament. I'm just saying, to think that in that small space that people believe that they control the world is hard for me to believe, because it's not as impressive as people make it out to be. It's like a very simple kind of place. The fact that they can defend themselves and have the means, I think mainly because of the backing of the Americans to stand their own, and of course the tenacity of the people to actually, they have nationalized service and so on, they can defend themselves. It's not comparable, Avi, even to the Australian Parliament. To think that they have that much power and control that people make it out to be, it doesn't make sense when you actually see it for yourself. I think these are people that have been fighting for their survival for a long time in that region, from both sides, and we're all kind of caught up in it because of the interest that everyone has in that region, fortunately or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it.
Cruel Intention says, did you see grubby Tony Burke turn up at the airport to welcome 238 Gazans on the sly? I did see that. Good luck, Australia. Look at what we're doing. It's so insane. So insane.
I think it is. I think it's inappropriate for one. It's like a victory march by our
100%.
It's like weird.
And you know what? Just bookmark it, because see when it turns to shit, and then just keep playing it. Keep playing that one video. Con Vasvos says, do you think the left hates Israel or Australia more? They hate Israel more, but they hate Australia a lot. They just hate Israel. Whatever they hate Australia, they hate Israel slightly more, or a lot more, but they hate Australia a lot. So,
but the hatred of Israel by the left doesn't really impact the Israelis. Like, I saw that on the street when they didn't really care. They're just like, this is our country, our problems, we'll deal with it. The hatred of Australia or whatever by the left actually impacts Australia because they're destroying their own country. And that's what they're aiming for. So there's that issue for sure.
That is a good point. Baz says, have a root for Rukshan people. We'll take that as a statement.
People in the comments telling me to sleep. I am still tired. I get, before this podcast started, I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm jet lagged.
My back, I don't know if you can see me moving somewhere. My back is caning. I've been complaining for days. I need to get like a back crack and a massage. Ape Ross says the people who's against 20 steps are one idiots. Yes,
It's true. I mean, if you truly believe, even if you truly believe that this whatever's happening is a genocide, if there is an option offered now by the Americans to stop that, and what you're doing is fighting against it, I mean, there's all sorts of questions I have for you.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Let's just quickly hit these other stories and call it a night. So, firstly, there was this video that we need to be reminded of from the 16th, so a couple of weeks ago, right after Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered.
There definitely is a little bit more to the story. First and foremost, that letter he is holding up, he is severely misrepresenting. Those sentences are real, but I am calling upon Bibi Netanyahu, the dear friend to Charlie Kirk, to publish the letter's entire contents. Like, don't start with just 2 sentences. Publish the entire thing. You're holding it. I'm saying you're severely misrepresenting the contents, that in May, Charlie was concerned about Israel and their influence on American politics and how they were pushing things that he felt were in conflict with his beliefs, free speech here in America. Bibi's holding it up like Charlie just in May said, hey, you know what? I just want to write a love letter to Israel. That's how it was presented. Would you guys agree? That's not how it happened. Let's stop saying how Charlie felt, and instead, if you're going to hold up the letter, release it in its entirety, okay? And lies by severe omission, I'd like to be very clear, are lies. And does anybody want to jump in and say,
later.
no, yeah, the letter Charlie wrote him in May was just like a glowing, he just was overcome with passion and said, I love Israel. You guys are amazing. You're beautiful. We're going to win this thing, and you're perfect and doing nothing wrong. Love you, Bibi. Comey very quickly told us that Charlie was penning love letters to him in May. I just find that weird that no one wants to address the substance of the claims here, whether or not maybe Bill himself has an opinion on whether Bibi lied by severe omission when he mentioned his last correspondences with Charlie. And you're doubling down on your lie. I told you to
2
publish
days
the full
later,
letter
3
that
days
Charlie
later.
wrote you, not lines of it. Okay, so lie by omission. Doing Fox News and Greta Van Sustern's show,
3 days.
he lied about the contents of a letter
4 days
that
ago.
Charlie Kirk had written him.
Remember on September 18th, I reported about a letter that Charlie Kirk wrote to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, what was exactly in it? Well, the New York Post got a hold of that letter. They've now published it, and it's exactly what I reported. Now, Charlie Kirk expressing his love for Israel, warning about the disinformation war, and really urging Israel to do better when it comes to social media and how to reach the younger people. No attacks on Israel, just advice on how to fight lies and reach the next generation. I'm not going to read the 7 pages, but it says, everything written here is from a place of deep love for Israel and the Jewish people. Israel is losing the information war and needs a communications intervention. Then he goes on to say, Mr. Prime Minister, I urge you, in caps, to revamp your information war strategy from top to bottom. It's exactly what I said, what was in the letter.
Can anybody actually work and assert that I am lying?
Yes!
You can say my name. Can't
Yes,
lie?
you lying cow. You
like,
guys, you can read the whole letter. I've retweeted
I read
it.
the letter. It's a good letter, actually, but she's like the Jerry Springer version of like a podcaster now. She goes off on different tangents, and she's very convincing and good.
She just says it confidently.
As long as you don't, as long as she says it very confidently. She's believable the way that she presents it. Of course, if you're discerning, you go look at the sources. You go kind of read the other side. Maybe then you start questioning things. But a lot of people don't have time for it. So she knows that. She puts it out there. A lot of people believe it, and then it kind of gets put into that system, right? Where he says one thing, another one of her people that are similar views says the same. Ian Carroll, for instance, will say the same things.
Yeah,
and it just kind of builds up over time, and it becomes the prevailing narrative, at least from that side. And it's weird because all of the pretext of all of this, Avi, is the fact that their belief is that Israel somehow killed Charlie Kirk. That's where all this comes from. That's why the letter matters so much. That's why they want to know the contents and this and that. Like, you're lying about his love for Israel because that it was never like that. That's why they killed him, and so on. So the whole thing is just cooked. It's just actually cooked. people are just taking everything too far. I think when it comes to all of this, everything's a conspiracy now, Avi. Everything's like everyone's a cooker now, right?
But they're grifters. Like it's all a grift for her. That's the thing.
You can say I mean, it gets the numbers, obviously millions and millions of views, millions of clicks.
But I'm just the point is if you're still falling for anything outrageous that Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, like whatever these people are saying, that like the allegations that they throw around without zero proof, and you're relying on their confident delivery of it, you're an idiot. You're being taken for a ride. Like, how many times does she have to be proven to be making shit up for you to realize that you're being taken for a ride? Like, I get it that you really want it to be true. You really want it to be true that Charlie Kirk was turning on Israel and the Mossad killed him. But when in real life, in the real world, Charlie Kirk was Israel's best ally, friend, and promoter, especially to the young people in the world. In the world. And it looks like Candace Owens wasn't really that close of a friend anymore. She didn't even go to his goddamn memorial. Like, she's a horrible human being that is taking so many people for a ride.
And there are concerns now that a lot of the stuff that is being spread around this might eventually end up harming the actual case.
Yeah,
against the guy that they've got. And
she doesn't care.
I understand that we should not just accept the version of events from the state, from the police, or from the FBI. That's not a good way to look at how these things work. It actually makes sense for people to be curious and to explore other avenues and look into things. The basics of what Candace does is actually the correct thing to do if you want to have an inquisitive mind and challenge things, for sure. But when you go down the path of just saying one statement after another without showing evidence, and then completely not addressing the fact that when the story completely changes and dismisses everything you said and you don't address those things, it becomes a problem. And there's only so long
Has she said anything? I haven't even looked. Has she said anything?
I don't know if she's said anything. Maybe she'll say because what are they saying? What's Megyn Kelly saying? They're saying, well, that letter happened in April or something like that, and in August he said something different.
No, she hasn't.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like all of this is just extra noise and nonsense. You know what I mean? It's
Megyn Kelly, I was giving her benefit of the doubt, and I don't I think the problem is everyone just jumps to the word stupid word. They're just grifters.
They're using Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was the opposite of all of them.
Yes.
He never really had any kind of major moments like that they're having now on any issue like that. He was very balanced. He didn't really delve into the land of conspiracy to prove his points in the way that these guys do. And he was never like them, the way that they fighting for him like lunatics. He was not like that. I just think it's just, if you can't see that when you see every single incident happening in the world and they just blame Jews, and you don't think that's ridiculous, and you just kind of take that hook, line, and think each time.
Look, it would be different if they actually proved anything. But in this case, and in so many of these stories, they're getting proven as blatant liars. Like, she's like, challenge. What was her? She goes, challenge me. Go put the letter out. Now it's out. I did look. She hasn't said anything about that, right? She jumped on it. Look at. Did you see how many videos she did? Saying that the letter was saying one thing, right? Now that the letter's out, she's gone silent.
She was like, release the letter. We know it's bad. Release it. You won't do it because it's bad, right? That's how she was talking.
but Tucker Carlson is similar. Tucker Carlson's just like, yesterday, Bibi's walking around saying that he controls Trump. He's not going to call me a liar. I dare him to call me a liar. An hour later, Bibi's on Fox News going, Tucker Carlson's a liar. I've never said that.
Actually, on that, great point was made by Ted Cruz and a few other people that Tucker Carlson was calling for regime change in Israel. The guy that was saying that he's not for regime change.
Yes,
he was calling for regime change in Israel. I think Dinesh D'Souza, I think Dinesh is doing actually. He's pushing back against this, which is interesting.
Dinesh has been amazing. I find him I retweeted him today, and I sent him a message going, "Mate, I'm loving what you're doing." Like, I think the first thing that that I noticed that was great of his recently was a debate that he did. Who did he debate? Was it Nick Fuentes?
I think it was Fuentes. Well, that was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, but that was the first time because I didn't really take too much notice of him, and then I saw
I think he destroyed Fuentes. But
yeah, I think, and I haven't seen many.
His supporters are like, "Oh, he's an Indian, he's an Indian, he's an Indian."
Yeah, no,
so
but when you listen to the substance of the debate, it was probably one of the first people that I've seen just destroy him on the facts. Like you got to look past the comment section. Like if I dwelled in the comment section, even of my own post, you're not going to survive this world. Like, we're outnumbered. Get used to it. We're outnumbered. Cool. And all you guys in the comments having fun with it. Like, good on you. You've outnumbered us. But the fact is that it doesn't mean you're right. The mob, being part of the mob doesn't mean you're right. Now, when you objectively watch that debate, it is clear when you break down, and I'm the first to admit when people debate, and I do it sometimes, debate poorly the position of, Israel or the West or whatever. He did it flawlessly, I would say, in that debate. It was really good and against a pretty good debater. Like Nick Fuentes has a natural debating ability. So I would encourage people to watch that. We've got, let me do these super chats and then just one more two local stories we'll just hit on. Eric says, how's the jet lag? Look, I just don't think, since, for me personally, coming back, I haven't been able to recover properly, that my body's falling apart of me. Like, my back is killing me, and I'm not getting great sleep, and I'm having to work like probably 14-hour days. So it's been tough. But once I get past getting out all this content, I can just breathe a second and get back into Australian content. Although I've got a few events coming up. So make sure, guys, hit the subscribe and notification button, because we've got some more lives coming up. What about you?
Yeah, I'm still kind of struggling. I think I'm just being a sook. But it takes me like a week or so to get over something like this. So hopefully by Thursday, I'm good.
Mate, you hardly worked. What are you pretending? Cam says, in Melbourne, the carnage goes on. Nicole Werner is doing a great job putting Labor on notice. How do we hold Jacinda accountable for this mess? Well, in a democracy, unfortunately in the state of Victoria, it's quite hard because, again, we're outnumbered by the mob. But in a democracy, it's the voting booth. And we're just about to touch on a bit of Jacinda, but I agree with you. What do you reckon, Rukshan?
Yeah, we're pretty screwed. And that goes to your point about the mob. Like, Korea, the problems are obvious. Everyone knows there's problems. Everyone knows that whatever's going on in our state, whether it's the crime or the debt, is a problem. But the mob rule, they keep voting for Labor because that's kind of where they're ideologically based. And even going into the next election, it doesn't look like the Liberals can actually beat Jacinda. As crazy as that sounds, you might be able to pull it off again because just the way Victoria is. So, what everyone thinks is right in terms of the mob rule and the mob voting for, their ideological slant doesn't mean it's, the correct thing as such. It's just part and parcel of living in modern socialist Victorian democracy.
Yep. We might all have to move. Abby says, I genuinely believe Candace has a mental illness. It wouldn't be a surprise if she's committed to a hospital for Christmas. Look, it'd be doing her and all of us a favour. She has lost the plot. And you know what? I feel bad for people that, you remember that? That kid that I bumped into in St Kilda that was defending her and going, oh, she was right about Thingo's husband. And it's like, dude, you guys...
It's a new phenomena. We've never seen this kind of thing before, Ravi. That's why we can't really put our finger on what this is. 20, 30 years from now, we'll understand, and Candace will be like a test case. You know what I mean? We don't really know what this world of entertainment /podcasting/news plus also the fact that people are monetized on engagement and clicks and likes.
Yeah.
How all of that plays into the way that news is now created. Like, we don't know the consequences of that. Because even when Alex Jones was doing all that crazy stuff back in the day, that was before monetization, right? He's just selling his pills and all this kind of stuff. But Candace and these guys, they know that if they can get a couple of million views on the crazy things that they say, and there's no consequences attached to it, well, that's like,
money.
millions of dollars. And you just keep doing that over and over and over, and you just keep making more money. So that's I think, what's going on.
She is.
Not even Qatar and things like this. She understands she's got a formula. She knows what works. She knows what the audience wants to hear. She'll tell them exactly what they want to hear, and she'll continue on, and she will not go back on the past. She'll never admit fault, really, and she'll just keep going forward because it's lucrative. It is a new form of entertainment, and people will say we're doing the same thing with our podcast. And
we're not.
They're right. They're right to criticize, but we're not at that level. And also, no, it's to actually to do what she is doing to like not have that kind of character where you can understand that it's morally not the right thing to do. Like that layer still. I think luckily we still have that.
No, but you're missing. Forget the moral and ethical, right? That's what. I've had this conversation with you before. It's just like, dude, I get the temptation. I understand the temptation, especially if you don't care. Like, if you don't care enough, if you don't have the moral courage or the how did you just describe it? How did you describe it? To not to go against your principles, to actually stand for what's right? Like, if you don't care, the temptation to jump ship and imagine for a second, this is what we talked about. Imagine for a second I turned around and go, as an ex-Israeli soldier who's been pro-Israel. This is like the line that Piers Morgan uses. I was pro-Israel's defense, right to defend itself. In fact, I advocated that they had a moral duty, and now I see the light and condemn it. Like Piers Morgan does that and gets it. Imagine I did it. It would be like, I would be celebrated overnight by the entire Islamic world, the pro-Palestinian, like everyone would be like, oh wow, Avi's finally seen like. It would be the easiest grift there is. And the views will skyrocket. Like, if you look at our views on the Israel stuff, it's like, it crashes.
I went to that wall. I went to the wall. I'm kid you not. Across my platforms, I lost a few thousand followers. Just for the mere act of me doing something.
That's my point. But that's my point, is that you cannot say that. Like, when you said a second ago, you can say we're doing the same thing. It's like, dude, we're literally doing the opposite. What we talk about actually costs us to talk about it. Like, this war has only ever hurt my bottom dollar or my career in this field, because unfortunately, like, the mob is against us. But guess what? You can argue, and this is what I told everyone, like, you can argue for me, well, it's personal. I'm not going to give up on, I'm not going to give in to the mob that actually wants to see me dead, my mum dead, my family dead, my cousin. You're literally doing it out of, like, what is right and wrong. You're and I watched you and I saw you just go to that wall and have that video, and you knew, and like, I posted that photo, but like, I checked that you were cool with me posting it, like making that joke, knowing that it's going to cost you, but you didn't care. You literally didn't care, and you didn't make any money on that trip. It literally, crowdfunding it and covering the bare minimum, but no money's made, sacrificing followers just to do it. Dude, she's doing it because the formula pays. And that is something that Rukshan could have easily done. So I don't think
look, and that's not to say that my views and opinions are right for whatever reason. It's not really saying that. And people often compare, this is like, for me, it's similar to COVID. Like, COVID was not a popular position to take.
Not
the positions that we had.
Yeah.
It was not popular universally. It's the same as right now. It's not popular right now to have the position that we have. But my position is born out of the fact that I don't support terrorists.
Although the big difference in COVID, there are enough people around the world that like were just gung ho about it that you would, like in that period, you'd blow up having it. Now, like defending Israel is a lonely place on the internet.
It is.
Like
For sure.
you're up against everyone, like the far left, the far right, and the Islamists. And if you're part of that mob and don't actually know what you're talking about, like just use your mind for a second, understand, look at the bigger picture, draw yourself out of it, out of the propaganda you've been sucked into, and understand that you've just joined the groupthink. And people like Rukshan who have zero, like no skin in the game, no reason to actually, stand by it. Not only like Rukshan could just be quiet on it. Yeah, he'll probably cop the flack, people wanting him to say something or whatever, but he could not be my friend, not talk about it, talk about everything else, politics. There are so many gutless political commentators in Australia who do that. Who might be Christians. I'm not going to name people, but I know they're Christians, and they might flirt a little bit with the conspiracy stuff just for a couple of clicks here and there, but they might not get fully into it because they know it's so wrong and they don't want to sell their soul. But Rukshan has actually stood up, and whether you agree with it or not, you got to respect it. Let's read these. Oh no, that one we already read. I just loved it that much. I wanted to bring it up again. Baz says, Candace, my friend, yea, the most sensible said the Jews. It must be true. Yes, that's quoting Candace. I remember when that first happened, and when
that was a turning point.
Yeah. Anthony says, welcome back, guys. Thank you both so much for the great coverage and work you did. Legends.
Thanks,
appreciate it, Anthony. Thanks for the super chat. And Dylan says, you've spoken about the woke right, but what are your thoughts on Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit? He's friends with Andrew Tate, Dan, Hodge Twins, etc. Every single one of those are woke right. That's by the definition of woke right.
Those guys love controversy. Like their whole brand is controversy. So they will say the most outrageous thing, not even because they believe it, but because they know that it gets views for them. Like that's their brand. Like that's just who they are.
Yep. Mark says, keep up the great work, guys. Greetings from WA. Mark Rowley. Guys, go give him a follow on X. I think Mark has... I from time to time retweet his stuff because...
Sure.
Repost it. Yeah. He has some good posts, and he picks fights with a lot of people that I fully support for a great cause. Cruel Intention says, if you guys miss it, check out her take episode where Gillian quits. That Ann chick from Young Turks is as bad as Candace. Totally agree. I know. I watched it. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it? Yeah, Annika Kasparian's cooked, like in the same way.
She's always been cooked.
She's always been cooked. She's in the same cooked as Candace. It's like the same obsession, the same talking points. They're exactly the same. It's the horseshoe theory. They are the same thing now. And it's funny to see that those groups, like you're seeing a bunch of those different personalities from that far left and that like cooker right, that are like, yeah, this is not a left or right thing anymore. We both agree. And it's like, dude, you are the horseshoe theory in real life. But I did see that, and it was good on Gillian for that one. I think she handled it well. They are cookers. And I love how they sat there stunned, like, oh, what? Whatever do, it's the Jews. Dozer says, Rukshan, the man of the people, Avi, the man of the shekel. Good to see you fellas again on the podcast.
True, that's true.
100 true.
We will not deny it.
No, deny it. Listen, I'm a man of the shekel. I just don't earn enough of them. I'm hoping that there's some rich fan and supporter out there that's added me to their will.
Telling me that Rukshan and Avi took the $150 million deal that Charlie Kirk didn't take from Israel. I was like, mate, if I took the $150 million deal, You would not see me on this podcast here today. I'm telling you right now. If I took the $150 million deal.
Actually,
like the crazy things that people have been saying that we
no, I disagree. If I got the $150 million deal, I probably wouldn't do a lot of like that. This like the podcast is kind of chill. Like it sometimes comes around at a bad time. Like I'm busy, but we just got to jump into it and drop everything else. So it's just time consuming, but it's not hard like a lot of the other work that I have to do. So I would probably continue doing the podcast. I'd just have a lot more bling on me. I'd probably do a few upgrades, probably make the room a bit bigger.
It'll be obvious. It will be obvious.
Yeah, you'll know when I got the 150 million. I wouldn't be doing a lot of the annoying stuff I have to do.
Yeah.
Catherine says, I've lost friends over Israel and Nigeria. The Nigeria part's interesting, and it is super interesting that no one cares about Nigeria at the moment.
Yeah, it's horrific.
But yeah, you look. The weird thing is, I've lost people over Israel. And it's like I've actually been the most consistent on this subject. Like it's actually what got me into journalism in the beginning. So like I've been super consistent even through COVID. If you watch some videos in COVID at those rallies, like from time to time, there was like a far lefty or like somebody that was going on about Jews and Zionists. And I would confront him, and everybody would cheer me. And like now, a lot of those people that cheered me are have joined that person. They just didn't know what he was talking about at the time. But yeah, even I have. So look, I'd rather be alone, but standing, for what's right, than to have a million mates and be, selling my soul.
Yeah.
Jeff Wedgwood says, regarding Israel, who's worst, the woke right or left? You know what? They're pretty much the same, to be honest. Like I would have said it different before. They're exactly the same. They are. They're talking points. Everything they say is the same. It's the same. And they're both becoming mainstreamed. So I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Do you see a difference? I don't know.
No, it's pretty much the same. I think the woke right element,
just because it's from our side, is annoying.
No, but they try to hide it more. Yeah. Whereas the left is like, no, we don't like him.
No,
whereas the woke right is like, I don't know. They try to shroud it in different things.
I don't know. The woke right depends who on the woke right. Like, there are the Nick Fuentes that just straight up say the Jews, and then you got like cowards like Clandis that will like use coded language. She'll just like say, the Frankists and what she's got all these other Talmudic, satanic, and whatever. They're annoying, but I find that most of the woke right will at least say the Jews, whereas the woke left will pretend it's not the Jews. They would say everything, like and the ones like Jake Shields that make the arguments. Oh, it's not. How's this anti-Semitic? But like you literally look at his feed and he's just like literally like straight up saying the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. Me again. Jeff says. Just want to say keep up.
Thanks, mate.
Avi and Rook, keep it up. Thank you, Jeff. Just before I let you all... Wait, did we touch this? We haven't even touched it. Let's just quickly hit these two stories. Jacinta Allen hails machete ban as success, but Fresh Attacks tells another story. Like, this is insanity. Let's just quickly watch this. Can we see it here? No, is it not working? What's happened here? Oh, my computer's bugging out. Let's see if it lets me play it.
And the ban on machetes, the ban on possession of machetes is already working in just the first month alone. More than 6,000 of these dangerous weapons have been passed through the machete disposal process, and then when you add that to the more than 11,000 knives and dangerous weapons that Victoria Police have seized, particularly as a result of those expanded stop and search knife powers, we are seeing measures like this work. I will say that the loss of another young life on the weekend as a result of knife crime, as a result of young people carrying these dangerous, deadly weapons, is a reminder of not only the importance of banning the machetes, getting them off our streets, but also that there is further work to do to work with young kids to say don't carry these dangerous weapons because quite clearly they are deadly. And can I finish by saying my thoughts are with the family of that young man who's lost his life in Gippsland on the weekend in Morwell. It's another difficult time for the family, for the community, and our thoughts are with them.
Like, just cooked. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. So
yeah, because the 6,000 machetes he's celebrating is from law-abiding Victorians, the gardeners and whatever else, people using it for cooking and things like this. They're the people that are handing it in. Obviously, the criminals continue to carry them on, and she's saying, "Oh, I wish the kids knew not to carry the knives and stuff." But these gangbanger kids are carrying the knives and the machetes and stabbing each other and cutting each other up. And we've had multiple deaths in Victoria and injuries from these machetes, Avi. And to the extent, I saw an article the other day about they were looking at doing African courts in I don't know if you saw that one.
Yep.
Which
is like the Koori courts, like trying to
Koori court, but we'll have African courts now.
But what's it going to change? Like, that's only going to make things more lenient for them.
It's crazy. Like, it's just crazy that this is what's come to. And the funniest, I just remembered Israel again, just to take it all back. We asked the kids there, "Do you guys know what machetes are?" And they didn't know what machetes were. They were like, we had to explain to them what machetes were because it's just not a problem. Obviously, this is a very unique problem in Australia and especially in Victoria, and they've lost complete control. And these bins are useless. They're not going to do anything. They're going to keep using these knives and machetes. The criminals aren't giving them up. And yeah, this Jacinta Allen is just, I think, fumbling her way through all of this. But like we said before all this, I think she's still going to win the next election as it stands right now. And that's crazy.
All right. Last story is outrageous. Transgender sex offenders remains in women's prison. At least 7 transgender prisoners, including those with histories of sexual violence, have been held in Victoria's women's prisons, raising serious safety concerns for female inmates. Among them is a father who sexually abused his 5-year-old daughter and has medically transitioned, now identifying as female. The inmate, Hilary Maloney, began gender-affirming treatment in 2021, including estrogen gel and testosterone blocker, with plans for surgery. Like, what more do we need to say? Like, this is like the sanctuary cities, and this is another example of how our justice system is failing us.
Yeah.
You have the crimes on the street.
This one, I think as more people see this one, and like I think even the Age reported on this today. This is like it's just insane, right? Like the fact that someone that's molested and done these things to a child then ends up in prison, in a women's prison, by saying that they're now a woman, whatever. And this is kind of like normal now. So, people have to push back against it to change this. And I don't know for sure, but was there reform in the UK regarding this? Because I know this was an issue in the UK.
Yeah, there was. So in the UK, then they actually challenged it. So I think the pushback is going to be real on this and a lot of the issues. But I think it's important just to highlight it and discuss it and get people campaigning on it, because it's happening. And if you don't do anything or say anything, the Jacinta Allen government is going to continue this nonsense, which, whether it's the machetes on the streets or the men in women's prisons, is a failure of our system that's going to cost lives. Last quick super chats, and then we'll close off for tonight because I need to lie down. Ape Ross says, it does feel lonely by defending Israel and Trump. And that's a good example. I remember, especially in 2016, in the lead up to that election, especially in Australia, it was
family and friends.
It was lonely to be able to stand there and say, nah, I'm with Trump. Trump is the GOAT. And, it got more and more popular over time. So now it's not as
now it's cool.
Now it's kind of become trendy, yeah. But that's right. And that's what Israel's like. Watch. You know what? The thing that Netanyahu's right about is history, people. Everybody loves winners. So in the last 2 years, you're kicking on Israel. It's easy because it wasn't a decisive win yet. Soon, once it's all, especially if this peace plan goes through and there's success in it, and, you look at what happened on October 7 and then the fallout from it and how Israel took that horrific day and turned it into a way to reshape the Middle East for the better for everyone, it'll be remembered differently and it'll become cool again to support him. I truly believe that. It might take time. There's a young generation and losing people like Charlie Kirk is unhelpful. Michael says 500,000 Christians got slaughtered by Islamists in Nigeria last year. Where's the news on that? I don't know the numbers. I don't know if it's that many.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high. I was doing some research. Just on there was an attack on a church in a Mormon church in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at the numbers, and there was last 2024, there's at least 14,000 attacks on churches, Christian places of worship, and at least 80% of them were actually in Africa, around this kind of Nigeria and so on. So I would imagine, these towns, there's people just being literally, actually ethnically cleansed or genocided in broad daylight. The world does not obviously care about it whatsoever in this instance, because it happens to be in Africa and it happens to be Christians. I mean, it's very selective outrage, and it's just shocking to see. And the footage and the horrific things that are coming out of Nigeria, like people just slaughtered in churches and just entire families just slaughtered by knives and beheaded and all sorts of crazy stuff. Similar to what we saw on October 7th, really.
Yeah.
Imagine that on the scale of, I don't know if it was 500,000 people, if those numbers are accurate and how long that's over. But just imagine that on that scale, Avi, like what we saw on October 7th.
It's insane.
Times 100. That's what's happening in Nigeria. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And you won't have, you have these Christian campaigners like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens who can't shut up about it and talks, tries to find the one, Palestinian Christian tiny minority to somehow condemn Israel, the one safe haven for Christians in the Middle East, who won't dare talk about that anymore, won't talk about Nigeria, won't talk about the persecution of Christians globally, especially in the Middle East, especially where by Islamic extremists. It's just insane. Insane. The world has gone mad and people need to wake up, because all these countries are going, the Christians are going to, like the rest of the Middle East. If you look at half the Middle Eastern countries, they used to be Christian countries. And they got, ironically, colonized through the sword by Islamists.
I would like Constantinople back in Christian hands, in European hands. I mean, if we're going to play this game that the left is playing, that should be handed back to the rightful owners. That church, Hagia Sophia, is a Catholic church, so it should be back in the hands of the Catholics at least. But that's the reality of the world, right? So those things, people don't want to accept that when it comes to that particular instance of history, but for whatever reason, everyone else, even in Australia, we have to give up the country, for instance. It's just crazy. That's the things we're dealing with. None of it makes sense.
I know. Michael says, I have to say, good on you for doing the Israel trip. Appreciate it, Michael. And look, while we said that, unlike doing anti-Israel propaganda, doing pro-Israel stuff, anything that is not condemning of Israel crashes, but the support is definitely there, and the viewers are definitely appreciating it, and I see all the inbox messages and all that. And there are a couple of videos that did go viral, like that one video of talking to that crazy leftist. Remember, we wake up in the morning in Israel and I'm seeing it all over socials, on Hebrew subtitles and then Arab subtitles, because both sides were sharing it. So we definitely had content that were viral, but not even on my own platforms. But it is for the supporters that were really happy get something out of it. Like when people learn something, and there were people messaging me about, the long tours through Jerusalem, of how much they learned just going on that. And that's what I really wanted to do. Each thing that we did had another reason for it. So we did, like the political tour or the interviews. One of them will come out in the morning. But, we did a bunch of interviews at the Knesset with the people in power. Then you've got, what else did we do? We did, the Christian pastor. Then I'm looking at we'll get that up. The Druze.
Oh, you got to put up the Christian. Was he Greek Catholic in the Druze town in Israel? So it's very diverse. And we did ask him about the spitting. So if you want to know about the spitting on Christians,
and he was no fan of the Israeli government. Let's just say that
he was not a fan, but I think he gave a good, honest answers about everything.
100%. So that'll come up. There's the whole Druze story. We've got that coming. There's so much content, but I'm glad that people are taking things away from it. Evan says, "Hey Avi, what are your thoughts on Hollywood? And do you think Hollywood will only become more woke or ease off on it and become what it once was again?" You know what? I think it's all a cycle. To be honest, I think the whole like super wokeness. You see, everyone's kind of pulling back from it. Like I think they're going to be the last. I think they're going to be the last. I think Hollywood. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, if you're looking at the way that culture is shifting in America, a lot of these, major corporations are coming around through understanding that they are in the Trump era of America, and possibly another, two more terms by the Republicans in Vance. And there is a bit of a shift happening for sure. You've had YouTube today; they settled with Donald Trump, $28 million US.
Oh wow! I didn't know.
For taking him off after the election, so they've settled the lawsuit. X has already settled with him. Meta settled with him. All these companies have settled with him because, they know that they're in a whatever they did in the past it's not going to work today. And I think to the point about Hollywood, Paramount Pictures, they're releasing a series on October 7th. Yeah. So like there is a bit of a little bit of a shift going on in terms of. Content.
It depends what you mean by Hollywood as well. Like, are you talking about the individual actors, or are you talking about the films? I think the films itself and the content that they create is going to become less woke, just because they're realizing go woke, go broke. Like the woke stuff all crashed out. So that's going to be a financial thing, and then I think the cultural thing is going to happen. But these celebrities are going to be last to the game. These guys don't believe anything they say. Like these climate change warriors who fly private jets around the world. Like they don't practice anything they preach. They don't believe it. They're just following the trend. So when culture moves away from wokeness, these people will become eventually anti-woke themselves.
Yeah.
But that's the problem about not standing for anything. Couple more super chats and we will end this stream. Jesse says, "Why do you think the left hates Christianity so much but seem to idolize Islam so much, considering Islam does not share or have any of their values?" Great question. Because to them, Islam right now is at the top of the oppressed. So everything from their point of view is oppressor and oppressor. Islam usually right now it's like a marker for a brown person who's an immigrant into the country. So they look at them. It is like literal racism. They look at them as victims of their own.
I agree. There is that. I also think that Islam is appealing to the left because that's kind of what they want to do. At the end of it all, the left is actually what they want to emulate. Is kind of what Islam is,
In what way?
Just in terms of way that they kind of force their particular ideology on everyone else.
Sure, they're authoritarian, but
there's elements of that. I think that they kind of look at and respect, especially when you look at the pro-Palestinian movement. They see the resistance, they see the terrorists as the resistance fighter, and they see them fighting a noble and just cause, and they want to emulate the same thing in Australia, for instance. Like they would literally fight the cause like that in Australia if they had the balls to do it, but they don't. So I think there is a bit of that.
But it's funny you give that example because just this week, so we see how then that explodes in their face. So we saw on the flotilla there was the quite public breakup of the leaders there that had to that resigned because the LGBT participants and Greta had to move boat. Like all this was happening because there's a conflict. So yeah, they might like the authoritarian aspect of Islam and the fact that they're just violent. They're willing to get what they want through violence.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I agree. It doesn't make sense because everything they hate about Christianity is far worse in Islam. Like all the things that they condemn Christianity for, like the homophobia and like it might be in theory in Christianity, but it's in practice in a lot of these, like in Palestine, like in those places under the Hamas, like Islamist rule. It's they're still practicing throwing gays off buildings. So it doesn't make sense if you actually think about it. But
no, it doesn't. And the freedom that the left enjoys is because of Christianity. At the end of the day, it's because of the Christian world and the evolution of certain principles and ideas, which are born from Christian ideas. It's some people find it not popular to say this anymore, but Judeo-Christian ideas, because if you trace it back far enough, that's where a lot of these concepts come from. But yeah, let's just look at the Christian world and how free it is, and that's why you have these kind of left-wing ideas. You have atheists, all these kind of things because of Christianity, because you can practice those things. What happens to someone in the Islamic world who renounces their religion, Avi?
Well, the punishment for apostasy is death, so they kill him.
Yeah, so
that's the reality. Baz says, "Rest up, lads." Thank you, Baz. I'm looking forward to that. Aishan, how would you pronounce that? Ishan Shad.
Ishan Chad.
Ishan Shad says, "Do you think Andrew Tate and Tucker are getting paid by Qatar and so on, or do you think they generally just hate Israel and Jews and want clout?" So my personal opinion is I think Tucker might be getting paid from, like, I don't say that about many people, but there has been evidence that he's on some sort, like in some way, got a deal with, which includes Qatari money. But again, even for Tucker, it's a mix of two things. It is financial gain just from producing the content and publishing it online, and the clout. Like, I think he also has like a lot of these people like Tucker and Candace have a chip on their shoulder from their previous, their most recent employment. So Candace will be Ben Shapiro, Tucker will be the what's their names? Who owns Fox? How have I forgotten?
Murdochs.
The Murdochs, yeah. So it's like a way to push back and go, yeah, look, your narrative, nah. Watch me destroy your narrative. I don't. Do they hate Israel? Like, I don't know if I don't even know if I believe that even Candace Owens genuinely hates Jews. Like, I think it's all a show for her. And I can't believe that she even believes, the example of the Charlie Kirk letter. Like, did she really believe that Charlie Kirk's letter said whatever she was implying it said? Did she really believe it, or did she just not think anyone was going to get to see it? I'd say she just didn't think anyone was going to see the evidence, or that her voice, her platform is so big that it doesn't matter. Even if it's published, there is a huge group of people that will just go with her lie. And we saw that. We saw that like in St Kilda when I bumped into that guy and I interviewed him and he was just defending her. Like, he doesn't even know that what she has told him has been debunked publicly, widely. So there is a huge group of people that just cult follow her. So it doesn't even matter that all this stuff on the outside that's getting proven wrong. The only way she's going to feel it is if, people like the Macrons, I guess, sue her. Or Charlie Kirk's thing, sue her. Like, unless these people sue her, and then it becomes like, but even then, I bet you they'll be like, oh, they're only going after her, like, because she's speaking truth. It's like, dude, These people are lost causes, I'd say. But you can't stop trying to reach people, to be honest. I'm just tired right now. Harry Holzer, last super chat, says, Avi, when you go to Miami again, would you ever consider going on Fresh and Fit with Myron if they invited you on? What would you discuss with them? Listen, I probably wouldn't. And I have been, when I went to America, there was somebody like organizing podcasts for me to go on, and they offered me like, oh, I can easily get you on Myron's. And I'm like, no, because there is no point for me to sit on their show, because all they have to do is just scream Jew stuff, baseless Jew stuff, and they don't actually have to back anything they say up, and they automatically online, like I'm feeding their platform, because that's what just garners all the likes today. So it's not a good faith conversation you're going to have with them. It's literally trying to get clicks for screaming at a well-known Jew about how evil Jews are. I don't see the point in it. If there was somebody that had that I believe that, let's say, for example, is fully pro-Palestinian, but wants to have a good faith discussion on it, I'd always be open to it. On any issue, I'm just using that as the example because we're talking about Myron. Like, he paints everything as anti-Israel, but he straight up says, Hitler was right. He says that Hitler should have killed him. Like, he says that stuff. So, and all he needs is to sit there ranting that to my face for it to be online, for it to go viral, for him. So I'm just helping him monetize that. I wouldn't do it. I don't see the benefit in that.
Yeah, no, I get you.
That's it tonight, man. I'm dead tired. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure before you go, hit the like button. Help the algorithm. Make sure if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I love you, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Are we doing Thursday? Are we doing Thursday night?
Yeah. Thursday night, guys. Same time.
Good night, guys.
Peace out. Hopefully my back is fixed by then.
Shalom, shalom.